the meeting to order. Chris, reading the executive committee meeting.
Yes, we actually met last Friday. Meeting was called to order by Tom Graston at 10:11. Roll call, all participants, all executive committee members were in attendance. Approval from the previous June meeting, motion made by Dave Watkins, seconded by Mary Hernandez. President's report, for the most part, Tom talked about, and he's going to talk about in great specificity this morning regarding our financial committee, things that we talked about over the last 5-6 months with COVID. So I'm not going to get into a lot of that because Tom will. Under new business, we had an annual PCOC update summary by Lee Whitmore and Joe Gatto. Very informative. We'll talk about that later as well. PCOC leadership training opportunity. Mike McKinsey will also chat about an opportunity coming up for, I think, for PCOC that you all like. The respective committee reports or the PCOC, CARES, PAPCO, and Education Foundation were given by members of the executive committee. Under my comments, executive vice president spoke about AB 1788, spoke about the next target, and also talked about sort of what our events look like in the coming year. A membership report, we've gathered 46 members to date. Motion to adjourn was made by Mary Hernandez and seconded by Greg Augustine at 12:40. That completes our executive committee report.
Great, thank you, Chris. Can I get approval for the board of directors meeting minutes from June? Everybody had a chance to read them in their packets?
I'll first press Fred Rozo.
And a second?
Mary
Second.
Hernandez.
Hey, Mary. Okay, Chris, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Folks, we're going to make an adjustment on our agenda this morning because of timing issues, but we're very pleased to have the director of DPR, Val Doicini, join us. And he was going to join us a little bit later, but because of time pressures, we wanted to have Val on as quick as possible. I understand he's going to be in the governor's office in about 45 minutes, so I wanted to try to accommodate him. So I just wanted to welcome Val. He's going to take 15 or so minutes, talk about key issues regarding the department. I think the good news too is Val's now official. He's officially confirmed, and very glad that he's be able to join us. And I must tell you, every time that we've had an opportunity to have Val participate, he actually was going to come out to Monterey and join us. And we even talked about having him coming out to the coast, which we had to cancel the Paso Robles meeting as well. So while we don't have him in person, it's great to have him online to spend some time with us. So and I know there's a lot going on. We're glad to have him. And while, you know, this virtual world isn't perfect, we still get an opportunity to listen to the director of DPR. So I'm very pleased and glad that Val's participating with us today. So Val, if you're on, go ahead.
Great to see you this morning, Chris. Thanks very much for the invitation to be with PCOC this morning. And let me know in the chat box or otherwise if my video or audio is acting up on this end. I appreciate the opportunity to update you today, if only virtually. Clearly, we're all operating in new territory these days, conducting our businesses and our lives in a virtual space that just a few months ago, no one really had any clue about. These days, we've become, to one degree or another, experts at Zoom and Teams and Blue Jeans and Skype and other forms of staying connected. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. For the last 6 months or so, not unlike yourselves, DPR has been operating virtually, and we implemented a policy of telework early on in the shutdown that has resulted in 85 to 90% of our employees working from home every day. This has not been without some significant challenges. We've had to procure a lot of new technology, including laptops and cameras and Zoom licenses to enable people to work from home. And it's created other challenges too, particularly with the school year just starting around this area recently and all over the state. Those who care for school-age kids or elderly relatives or don't have good internet connections or simply don't have the ability to really plug in at home and be very efficient. These have been particularly challenging times. But we've reimagined our work, we've persisted, and we've continued, I think, to work intelligently and collaboratively and productively in support of our mission of protecting public health and the environment. Even in a time when we're not physically able to be in our offices every day, DPR is deeply engaged in the development of sound science used to support thoughtful policy and regulatory actions. And I believe that we're well positioned to find common ground on some of the most challenging issues facing California. This spirit of collaborative engagement, and I talked about it when I came down to Southern California last year, I believe it was, Chris, with all of our stakeholders, from longstanding industry partners like your organization, to new relationships that we've developed with community residents and NGOs. This collaborative engagement has really served us well over the 30-year history of the department. And my primary goal as the director is to ensure that it will continue to do so in the years to come. I would just add that I appreciated PCOC's support for my confirmation, and as Chris mentioned, that happened officially last month, and the State Senate voted to confirm me 35-0. So hopefully I can live up to that unanimous vote. As many of you know, I spent the bulk of my career, or I have spent the bulk of my career rather, in public service, both here in California and in Washington, DC. But I've also spent time in the private sector helping businesses achieve the twin goals of doing well and doing good. And so I think I bring the heart of a public servant tempered with those important private sector sensibilities to my work here at DPR, and I look forward to sharing some of our recent work with you. Finally, many have asked what my vision is for DPR while I'm serving as the department's director. At its most basic level, it's for the department to aim high, to promote a more sustainable approach to pest management practices, to operate openly and transparently, to train and develop and engage our workforce, and to work with any and all Californians on matters before the department. Finally, to steward its resources carefully in a manner that serves the best interests of all of our Californians. But really, it's also about creating a culture at DPR that equips us to look beyond the horizon at the possibilities that the future holds. On some days, as you can imagine, this task is easier than others. In the morning, I'm labeled a flack for the chemical industry, and that same afternoon, I'm accused of being a tool for environmental extremists. That actually happened. But as all of you know, developing and implementing pesticide policy is hard work. It's emotional, it's political, it's highly technical, and it's absolutely essential that we get it right. DPR, as Chris knows, is a can-do agency. And as you know, we're doing important things every day for the people of California. We're there to tackle the big issues of the day and to seek common sense, practical solutions that work for all Californians. So I'd like to share some of the more significant projects that we're engaged with today. And if you've got questions, you can put them in the chat box or raise your hand, or if you need additional info, you can certainly reach out to me directly. I wanted to talk a little bit about licensing and certification issues at DPR. Renewal applications and the required hours for continuing education are due to us by the 31st of December this year. And as of August 24, late August, out of the 11,000 plus renewal packets mailed to individual license holders, we've received about 12%, and 11% have been renewed. So we're working through the packets as we receive them for the renewal of licenses, and that will certainly continue. Business license renewals are scheduled to be sent out in September. Maybe that's already happened for some of your members, to best ensure the QAL of the business has been renewed. For continuing education, DPR has approved many online and correspondence style courses, and a list of these courses is available on our website of the licensing and certification continuing education link. We're updating that weekly, so it will change from time to time, and I'd encourage you to take a look at that. Many of the in-person courses that we previously had provided are now being provided in webinar formats like Zoom or GoToMeeting. And we're continuing to work closely with CE course sponsors to convert these in-person courses into alternative formats. I expect that over the course of the fall and the coming months and probably into 2021, more of our courses are going to move to online formats throughout the balance of the year. We're creating, this will be available next month, a correspondence style CE course for licensees. The course will be approved for 4 hours of DPR laws and regs credit, and it will be available again in both the online and text format. We've mentioned a couple of The active ingredients that we've been working on sulfurofluoride, I think you guys have been tracking that pretty carefully. We consider the worker safety issues to be fully resolved at this point, and we've worked extensively with you over the years to adopt appropriate and additional mitigation measures where we can. Under the toxic air contaminant statute, DPR will be required to update the legislature on the status of our mitigation, and the next one won't be due until the end of 2021. We've been looking at possible mitigation measures to reference concentrations identified in the addendum, and that will determine the feasibility of next steps. But as I've mentioned to Chris and the leadership of PCOC, I don't think that we're going to do much more in terms of additional mitigation measures, but certainly keep close to the department and work with me and Jesse Cuevas and others in the leadership for the latest info there. On carbaryl, which is another broad spectrum insecticide that is used in both ag and non-ag settings, we completed a rulemaking to address various risks associated with carbaryl use this summer. The rulemaking essentially, in short, means that most carbaryl products can only be used by professional applicators, and that went into effect on the 1st of August. A little bit of good news I wanted to share that we really value the relationship we've developed with PCOC and pest control operators generally on urban surface water quality issues. Our environmental monitoring branch has worked quite extensively with you, and we really feel like you guys are exemplary stewards when it comes to urban surface water quality issues. We'll continue to work with you to explore new management practices to reduce further runoff of pesticides into urban waterways, and we'll continue to participate in the various events that you do and other types of outreach. We've been looking at new ways to submit registration packages to the department. You know, as you can imagine, we're a very paper-based department of government, but we really feel like we've got a transition to allow for registrations to be submitted electronically. These are probably issues that Chris, can remember dealing with in his time at the department. But one of the things that we're doing this year is trying to adopt an electronic submission and tracking system for reg packages. We're calling it CalPest, which stands for California Pesticide Electronic Submission Tracking. And we've been working closely with the California Department of Technology and the Department of Finance to develop an appropriate proposal that can make its way through the process. I think as we continue to work remotely, it's going to be much more important to adopt digital processes to facilitate that work, and also to make it easier for folks who are trying to register products with the department as well. So stay tuned on CalPest. As many of you know, we've also been working for the last several years on neonicotinoid mitigation, and we had a couple of workshops last month to introduce essentially the rulemaking proposal that we've developed here at DPR. That is a first, sort of opening to the conversation that we'll have with registrants, with farmers, with others who use neonics, and for those, frankly, who'd like us to do a lot more to mitigate the impacts that they have on pollinators. We're going to continue to interact with folks here in Sacramento and throughout California who are interested in learning more about our neonic rulemaking package. And we've got a comment period now that is open until October 11. So neonics is a big issue here at the department these days, as is 1,3-D. We've been working on fumigant issues for a long time now, and we're working to adopt what I think is kind of a novel approach to fumigant management in the Central Valley in order to address higher air concentration readings in the southern San Joaquin Valley. This will involve pilot projects in Kern County and Fresno County and Merced County beginning this fall, and then we'll use the data that we glean from those projects, which are being done collaboratively with local ag commissioners, with applicators, with registrants, and with the fumigators themselves to potentially inform statewide action down the road. We're working on, or I should say, we really are continuing the conversation that we started when I came to the department last year around notification issues. That's a key issue of importance to environmental justice advocates and to community residents from the Central Coast to the San Joaquin to Southern California to the north. It involves the public's right to know, and we really feel like there's probably a better way to provide important information to the public around pesticides being applied in their neighborhoods and in fields contiguous to their homes or schools. We've done a lot of work on the schools notification program, and this is probably a good continuation of that. More to come on this. There's really not a proposal to talk about today, but it's something that occupies a fair bit of my time as the director. As does the issue of our own funding. Like every organization, we really need to look carefully at our funding stream. For DPR, it's called the DPR Fund, which is really funded by the mill assessment that we assess on the sales of pesticides in California. That has been statutorily capped for about 15 years now. And at the same time, demand for our programs has increased, as well as new obligations that we have for employee compensation and retirement compensation. And there's a CalPERS loan that all state departments have to help in repaying. So we're going to have, I think, for the first time, a really serious conversation with the legislature and with others in Sacramento about increasing the mill. It's probably long overdue, and I think that there's a lot that we can do if we have a little bit more revenue here at the department to better serve Californians, and so I look forward to engaging in that with you as well. As you can see, we're an extremely busy and productive Department of Government. Those are just the 4 or 5 big things, but they really just represent the tip of the iceberg in terms of the work that we do all across the state. We've got our folks here in the headquarters office. Most of the 400 or so employees work in and around Sacramento, but we've got 3 regional offices, one in Anaheim, one in Rancho Cordova, and one in Clovis, that all work to provide better customer service and more service and information generally to Californians. We here at DPR operate at the intersection of science and management and policy to better protect public health. We're sometimes in the crosshairs, but I think we're always at the cutting edge of important debates that are going on in California now. I've shared with you before that when people of goodwill come together for a common purpose, I think great things can and do happen. And working with partners like PCOC, I know that we can get there together. So I look forward to questions that you may have. I did not intentionally leave out rodenticides. I'm happy to address that big one too. But I'm happy, Chris, in the time remaining to me, to take up any questions that members may have.
Yeah. Hey, Val, thank you very much. And I was going to talk about rodenticides. And as you know, we've talked about this for some time now. And my frustration is, and you know this, and fear and emotion overtake fact and science in this debate. And it's terribly frustrating, but we fully expect, as you know, the process, the way it worked, and we expect the governor to sign the bill as well. The question is for us, and I've talked to my membership about, we got to move on here, but the question moving on is implementation. As you know, when you read that bill regarding how you define an emergency for public health, while the ag commissioners aren't directly related in this bill, they're going to be impacted because they're the ones that have to do the enforcement actions at the local level, all those sorts of questions. So I talked to Jesse a couple of times about it, but I wanted to put a bug in the ear or two. That implementation is going to be really important for our industry, how this looks. I know that I think Jesse was going to talk to Ken Everett because it's probably going to fall on his lap on the enforcement side, what this is going to look like. But just wanted to let you know, we're eager and anxious and prepared to roll up our sleeves to talk about how we can assist the department with implementation of this bill, because the way it's written, as you might note, is you could drive a truck and through a lot of the language, there's uncertainties about what it might look like, enforcement, how you define an emergency, the exemption aren't relatively clear, as you might know. So all those sorts of questions, while we're troubled by it, we understand the reality is if it's signed by the governor, we got to make it work. So wanted to let you know that we're prepared to sort of roll up our sleeves and work with the department going forward on making this work.
Well, I appreciate that, Chris, and I knew that that was certainly the position of PCOC, and I would just say that on our side, we have similar concerns about the vagueness of some of the language in the bill. And what I tried to impress on the governor's office in the final days of the legislative session, and the legislature itself for that matter, is that, we have a scientific process that has been ongoing for a couple of years now to reevaluate the 4 second gens that were really at the crux of the bill. Thankfully, that process can continue. There were certain iterations of the bill that would have essentially made it, extremely difficult and a poor use of resources to continue with the reevaluation because, of language in the bill that thankfully came out at the end, which isn't to say that, I love the finished product, but it's all important really for us to maintain the credibility of the scientific process that we seek to follow in all of our regulatory decisions at DPR, whether it deals with rodenticides or fumigants or other things. So we'll be able to continue that process. I also wanted this group to know that we've really taken, I think, a pretty proactive approach with other agencies of government like the Fish and Wildlife Department, like the Coastal Commission. There is an ordinance in the city of Malibu, for example, that would ban the use of all pesticides. It originally started as a anti-rodenticide bill, but became this broader ban all pesticides, which include insecticides and herbicides and fungicides and the whole list, in the local coastal zone. We really felt that the agency that has authority over the regulation and sales of use of pesticides is DPR, and the Coastal Commission didn't seem to appreciate that fully. Now they do. And we're going to be continuing to work with them to help them better understand some best management practices when it comes to the use of rodenticides specifically, but insecticides and pesticides more broadly. And the same will hold true for the Fish and Wildlife Commission. We've worked well with CDFA on many of those issues and certainly look forward to working with the Department of Public Health as we wrestle with these issues around public health emergencies as defined by the bill. DPR has 30 plus years of scientific research and history to share with folks who are interested in listening. Sometimes, the scientific conversation gets short shrift, but I really think for things like this, for policy issues as big and as important and as impactful as this, we really need to make sure that the science is well understood by everybody. Don't know that it was entirely at the end of the day, but like we want to move on now and make sure that we can implement this bill to make it work for everybody.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the reevaluation wasn't allowed to continue on its course. As you know, they would have gotten, you folks know historically that you're reaching out to stakeholders and you're getting a lot of information, both scientific and practical information about how this actually works. And while we're frustrated, we believe at the end of the day, and I hope at the end of the day, the department through its formal reevaluation will make a determination based on science, which it should be. So that's my editorial comment. Understand though, Val, we've been around a long time. It is what it is. We have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You know that the door is always open to PCOC here at the department. We've got a great team at the executive level, but a lot of really hardworking, dedicated public servants, scientists, policymakers, technicians, others who really want to make sure that we're crafting policy that works for everybody in the state. So continue to keep me plugged into the conversations around 1788 and how we can make that a little bit better and make the implementation more easily understood. And we'll continue to go from there.
Val, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody.
I know you're pretty busy, so thank you for your time. Right now, I'm going to go to the president's remarks. I want to update everybody. As everybody knows, well, first of all, thank you for all the nice text messages I'm getting about my pink shirt. Yes, I do wear it well, Jim. Since the beginning of last year, let me turn down the volume here so I don't have an echo. So before I even became president, Mike McKenzie helped me, and we together, we put together a financial advisory committee. And the financial advisory committee was made up of Robert Baker, Travis Swope, Mike Bullard, Jim Steed, Mike McKenzie. We introduced Dean Wiley in there when he became the president-elect, and of course, Chris Reardon and myself. And the objective of this committee was to review and discuss all potential opportunities to set our association on the right track during these COVID times, especially considering how unpredictable this pandemic has been. to not only our businesses, but to this, to the association. This committee was focused on finding an avenue to build an emergency fund to protect the association, both now and in the future. So I wanted to give everybody an update of what we've been talking about so far. This is just going to be a brief update, and I ask anybody who has any questions in regards to anything I'm about to share with you, please feel free to give me a call on my cell phone. And after my report, we're going to post my cell phone number as well as my email address. So one thing that was talked about was, as you remember, we voted on allowing the executive committee to move forward to look at getting a loan for the emergency fund. And the lending agencies, such as credit unions and banks, couldn't qualify us for a loan. We don't qualify for a PPP loan from the government because we were an industry nonprofit, which was a C6, as opposed to a profit organization, which would be a C3. So we had discussions on dividing the branch into, our PCOC office in two, and to lease out the back end. And we looked at that, and we didn't see that the cost of dividing the building would far exceed any financial benefits to our association. Then we discussed actually what would happen, what would it look like if we sold the building and moved our association closer to the capital. The money from the sale, if we sold the building, would be invested into two separate investment accounts. One giving us the emergency fund that we needed without having a loan and paying interest on it. And the second one would be an investment, a mutual fund account that would actually give us a monthly income. What determines how the money would be used on the emergency fund would be added to our bylaws, including final approvals would be required from the executive vice president, the current president, and the current treasurer at the time. One thing that we have learned from AB 1788 is that we do have relationships, and most of our relationships are through our advocate lobbyist, Dom, but they're not the stronger relationships that we were hoping to have. And this would allow Chris, if Chris was walking distance from the Capitol, this would allow Chris to work on developing the relationships that is much needed, like to fight anything else that we have coming down, such as, well, I don't want to get into what could possibly happen as far as any more bills. I don't want to jinx us by any means. But moving our association will allow us the opportunity to invest in the relationships that we need to build. No one in the Capitol will hop into a car, give up a prime parking spot to drive over to West Sacramento and visit with Chris, where on the other hand, walking down a couple of blocks could be a possibility to come and have lunch with us and talk to us about any of our concerns. Office space is renting substantially lower right now in Sacramento, and apparently they're giving a lot longer lease terms. I talked to someone who told us that we potentially could be looking at getting a 10-year lease. So we also talked about reintroducing the new due structure that Mike had brought out before COVID, and which introduces new tiers. And so we'll be introducing both these, probably bring them to a motion in December. We're not bringing anything to a vote right now. And I know I just loaded a lot onto you right now. So this is not up for motion. We'll be discussing these two items more in depth with the executive committee and bringing to a motion on the membership on possibly both these items in December Board of Directors meeting. So if you'd like to discuss the selling of the building or the change in our dues, you can email or call me. If you guys could put up my email address and my cell phone, I'd appreciate it up on the screen. We're also going to be hosting PCOC brown bag lunches, where we'll grab our lunch and join us on a Zoom discussion. If anybody would like to discuss with anybody on the executive committee what our intent is with the building or with the dues. We're also going to be introducing the brown bag lunches for a human resource panel, where I have the HR director from Sprague Pest Solutions and the vice president of human resources for Clark Pest Control willing to join us for lunch and talk about COVID and how COVID impacts our employees and our responsibilities. And this is all going to be free to join. And lastly, we are taking the time to thank many of our affiliates who partnered up with us during a time of crisis and supported us even when we didn't have an expo to offer them. We'll be honoring our affiliates in a special thank you edition of The Voice in December, and also giving both our Diamond and our Platinum sponsors a few moments throughout our Board of Directors meeting today to share exciting news about the products and services. So right there, you can see I have my cell phone number and my email address, and those are my minutes. Those are my remarks, I mean. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our first guest, our friend Tom Graston. Tom is from Azuga.
Look, I really appreciate the time today. I was looking back in my notes, and I think the last time I was able to meet with any of you was, I think, back in the December meeting. So I'm looking forward to getting back to normal and being able to be together face to face. And I just wanted to take about 3 minutes here and give you some quick updates on what's been happening with Azuga since we last spoke. So first of all, we talk a lot about how if you take the information from the technology and incorporate it in your safety programs, that we see impact on changes in safe driving behavior. That's something that we're able to measure quite readily through our driver scores. But we did a survey recently with over 1,000 customers to get an understanding from them on how did those improvements in safe driving behavior impact their loss frequency. And what we found was across all of those customers over a 3-year period, they were able to sustain a 19% reduction in losses. Now, some of those customers' improvements were significantly greater than that, but that was the trend over all of those customers over that period of time. And so we're really happy that the technology, if incorporated correctly in a program, can really have a lot of impact on reducing losses. In terms of some enhancements that we've had over the course of the year, for those members that are using our Safety Cam solution, we're in the process of implementing right now something we call cloud artificial intelligence tagging. So when you see a risk video in the portal, it'll start to have tags on it to help highlight to you different types of distracted behavior that we're able to identify through a computer algorithm. And we're also rolling out a capability that you can subscribe to. So the machine-driven tagging is included in the service. There's a premium service where we have a center of professional technicians that view those tagged videos and augment them with their own assessment and reviewing the videos. And so the reason this is important is if you're using the Safety Cam to try to identify distracted driving behavior, then this will just make it more efficient for you to quickly identify those videos that are of greatest risk. We talked about Azuga Coach last time when we were together. That's the driver training video system that we have, where we send the driver scores to our technology partner that is has expertise, and their core business, all they do is driver training videos. And so we send the scores to our partner, and any driver over the course of a given week that's in the risk zone will get training videos pushed to them on Monday morning of a subsequent week. And those videos are specific to the riskiest driving behavior that they had that prior week. Drivers need to take a test at the end of each video class to measure their comprehension, and you as a management team have visibility into how they're keeping up with their courses to measure compliance. And So we designed this because our customers had said to us, hey, we really love the technology. It helps us identify who the risky guys are, but I don't have the time or the competency really to teach them how to be better drivers. And the benefit of this being system generated is it happens automatically. There's no human intervention. And there's some assurance that you'll have continuous improvement over time. So that's a really cool capability we launched last year, and we're seeing a lot of adoption across our customer base, and encourage you to think of it as well. We're working with PestPack, WorkWave on an integration. It's quite frankly, it's taking a heck of a lot longer than we anticipated. The commitment now is to have the work done by the end of first quarter 2021. So if you're using that software, know that we'll have the ability to integrate between the two capabilities in the distant future. And so one last enhancement that's coming out, and this is one that I'm most excited about. And so we're working with another technology partner. We're early in the product development, but we've already tested the technology and it works. So when this comes to market, if you subscribe to this service, you'll get an alert when an accident takes place. And then within that alert, there'll be a web link that you can click, and that'll take you to a reconstruction of how that accident actually took place. So that reconstruction, it's like a video that takes place on a Google map. So it's really cool. It obviously gives you the ability to get ahead of accidents and keep your team safe, but also get ahead of any claims activity or defending yourself if the accident was caused by somebody else. And the last bit on that is there's a mobile app capability that would let your technician fill out a series of forms and take pictures so that you're able to capture their perspective on how the accident took place. So think of that as something also that would come out in the first quarter of next year. So that's the Azuga update. Appreciate being part of PCOC, and again, look forward to the opportunity sometime in the future to get back together in person. So thanks for your time, and we'll look forward to working together along the way. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for your continued support. Azuga has been amazing support since you came on board. I really appreciate it. Well, we all do. I'd like to introduce Heather Kern and Janet Raleigh, from our friends from Douglas.
Thanks, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'd like to start off by thanking PCOC for all of your support, not only to the industry as a whole, but specifically biking and the structural market. It's been a long road, working on the reevaluation for SF and with DPR, and we're not finished yet. Janet will be providing an update here for us all in just a moment. We know this year has been really challenging, to say the least, with things going on and whatnot with the association. And it's really refreshing to see our industry come together in support of the greater good for all of our businesses and the association. It's really what makes this industry such a special place to work in every day. I want to take a quick opportunity and let folks know that we have backfilled the role previously held by Doug Bell. And the individual's name is Justin Brucker. He's got a pretty long history with fumigation and also in the dry fruit tree nut market specifically. He has supported the structural Viking market previously with his tenure at Univar, now Viceris. He will be focusing on the post-harvest side of our business for all of the West Coast, including California. And Matt Fabry, which you guys are familiar with him as well, a key member of our California team. He will be adding the Northern California structural market to his responsibility and has done so as of now. We're in the final stages as well of backfilling our Southern California position, the San Diego, Orange County, Riverside area, and we'll have an announcement to share with everyone at the next PCOC meeting here later this year. So I just really want to thank you guys again for all of your support and efforts behind, really taking good care of this industry, and look forward to seeing everybody in person again, hopefully soon. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Janet, and she will provide a brief update here on the SF reevaluation and our activities ongoing with DPR.
Just want to take a few moments here to update the team relative to what's going on with our efforts in DPR. And in spite of COVID-19, that work has continued. DPR has released their RCD addendum to SF this past summer. And that report basically focuses on DPR's review of the data, and that data will eventually create the endpoint. And that's significant because that's what the level that our industry will clear to when we're doing our fumigation. So that's the process. Val had already alluded to that the worker safety has already been totally completed. So now we're working on the bystanders and reoccupant part of this process. We had field visits planned earlier this year by the department heads on really the science side of our department heads, but unfortunately COVID intervened and those had to be canceled. Douglas Products now is creating videos for those individuals to help explain, why we fumigate, how we fumigate. Since we were unable to actually take them in the field, it's kind of our next best step to do that. We kind of feel strongly that these videos are pretty essential because in recent years, there's been turnover at DPR with retirements as the baby boomers are retiring, and you have others that have had different job opportunities just for them to advance in their own careers. But at the end of the day, that makes the team that we're working with not as familiar with structural fumigation. So it can make sense by, when you're sitting in front of a computer screen, may not necessarily make sense when you're in a reality production fumigation scenario. So these same people, though, are held accountable to making those decisions. So that's why we feel these videos, while not as good as being able to take them in the field, will be our next best opportunity to explain what we do and as an industry, and importantly, what you guys do, both from the termite, the bed bug side, and the fumigation. We do expect there to be some mitigation around how we do fumigation work, but I was very encouraged with Val's remarks earlier today that he did not expect that there would be much additional mitigation measures. So we'll continue to work through that. Obviously working very diligently with PCOC, Chris and his various teams on the fumigation enforcement committees and DPR. And that's going to be our next phase. We're going to start working towards that, what, if any, mitigation that we need to do to continue to use the product in a good way. The reality of this work is, for us, this is obviously important to us because this is our businesses, but it's also important to the citizens of California. And I think some of the work that, PCOC has done with, and the lobbyists with working with educating at the governor's level, what you guys do on a daily basis to help the industry has been very, very important. Because at the end of the day, people have a right to a safe home. Termites and beetles are destructive to structures and can make them very unsafe, as we all know. Bed bugs are defined by the state to be a public health pest, and fumigation is a critical tool that we need to protect people and their residents. It's kind of that simple. And we're trying to work very hard to make sure that everybody understands that. We really appreciate the great support to date from many, many of the PCOC members, and you guys know who you are. And we'll continue to need your insight as we work towards a doable solution. So I guess from my standpoint, just wrapping up these quick comments, would like to thank you from Douglas's standpoint for all the support you have given for Viking throughout the years and also for the years to come, because we certainly see that in all our futures. And I also look forward to the day when we can see you guys in person again. But I don't know if there's any questions, Chris, or how you want to handle this. Would be happy to entertain those as well.
Well, Janet, Heather, thank you guys for a few moments and that update, because I think Val, I was optimistic too. It's first thing. So actually, I talked to him this morning. By the way, he said he wanted to talk to me a little bit more about that too. So I don't know what that means, but probably good news, hopefully.
Hopefully.
but just wanted to thank Tom and Douglas, and I'm really proud of you guys sort of staying the course with PCOC during these challenging times. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Chris, it's, if I could hear from your Executive Vice President's report.
Well, thank you. And it's almost, this is a perfect lead in for me because our vendors, and I wanted to just chat for a minute about the importance of our vendors. And you know, when we talked to you last time in June, of course, we didn't have legislative days. We couldn't do our event. And I must tell you, we wouldn't be where we are today if our vendor sponsor affiliate community didn't stay with us. They invested significantly in that event. I think we got the signal loud and clear in terms of the direction we want to go regarding even today, get in front of our membership. We believe we're a good investment for our affiliate community, and we have a very captive audience as well. So we're very, very pleased. And I wanted to just tell our vendor community, all of you who are there, that there is no way PCOC would be here without you, and look forward. You've heard me say this before, it's a partnership. And this is a perfect example why the collective organization is stronger than it's ever been. In that vein, I also wanted to just chat a little bit about, you saw me come out about 30 days ago, 45 days ago with a Club 2020 request, and that was because of COVID and some of our challenging financial concerns. And I hope you allow me to take a minute. I want to read off some names. We're going to actually do this in our next monthly newsletter, but I wanted to just read off some names of folks. By the way, we've raised a little over $24,000 on Club 2020, people that just donated to PCOC, which is, I have to tell you, it just blows me away. But we're gonna put in our next newsletter so you can actually see it and talk a little bit about the value of what folks gave us as well. But I hope as I read off the names, you'll thank them and tell them we appreciate it. And we appreciate all the help. Folks have been just unbelievably generous with their time, with their resources in the last 5 months. So give me 2 minutes here. I just want to read off some names. Garrett and Lauren Thrasher, Greg Augustine, Vernon Green with East Valley Termite, Larry Treelevin, Lloyd Doris with Hydras of the North Bay, Curtis Good with Newport Exterminator, Craig Larson with AgriTurf, San Diego District gave us additional resources, John Cowan with John Cowan Termite Control, Mike Bullard, Big Time Pest Control, Janet Thrasher, Big Valley District gave us some resources, Greg Augustine again, John Munoz, Jamie Ogle, enormously generous, and I'll talk about that later on. Jennifer Fox, Travis Swope, enormously generous, Steve Despain, Steve Tanksley, Karen Grenz, Jason Payne, Greg Bosch, Dave Donatelli, Jeffrey Jones, Tammy Capriani, Rich Records, Lee Whitmore, Eric Krakowski, and Jonathan Holt. So we'll be printing some stuff, as I said, at our next newsletter, but I just wanted to publicly acknowledge them for, frankly, their generosity in helping PCOC during these challenging times. And this is voluntarily folks that wanted to give or felt strongly about it. And so I hope that you'll give them a virtual round of applause and tell them we appreciate all their help because there's no way we can do it without them as well. So kudos to everybody. I clap so you can see my, just fabulous, absolutely just fabulous, folks. I also wanted to talk about another issue that's come up and is really important. And I thought my friend, our collective friend, Lee Whitmore, talk about this, but this auto insurance. As we understand more, I was at the PCOC meeting, Lee and I and the executive committee along with Joe Gatto met last Friday. But I'm not going to steal any of Lee's thunder, but I would just say to you that we're all very concerned about where the auto rates are going, the auto challenges in our industry are going. And I know Lee and Paul are going to talk about that in a moment, but as you know, we celebrated our 30th anniversary last year. There's been a lot of hard work and effort done on this, and we have to make sure however we can to make sure that this, our insurance program stays whole. And we need to get our arms around this challenge because it really threatens our insurance program, not only this year, but as we look to the future years as well. So we're going to be helping Lee and that committee and Paul and his staff ensuring that our insurance program doesn't go by the wayside. We're going to get our arms around these challenges. They're going to talk about how we can do that. But it's really, really important people understand, for all of you listening, this auto side, the auto insurance side, our accident side is becoming a significant challenge to the integrity of our program. So I just want folks to be aware of that. We're not going to put our head in the sand, and we're going to be aggressively figuring out how we can solve this problem collectively together, as we do with everything. So I just wanted to make sure I raised that issue as well. You heard me talk AB 1780. I'm not going to spend a lot of time and effort on kind of what happened, but I would just say this. I want to thank a couple people because, as you know, this could have happened years ago. My friend Jim Steed and Darren Van Steenwyck, you know, I call them my partners in crime. This year, you know, as you know, this is they made a political calculation. The governor got involved and they jammed it. Okay, it wasn't supposed to be out of committee and it got out of committee. But it doesn't diminish the roles of the two guys I just talked about, because there's no way we would be where we are 5 years later if it wasn't for the action out of all of you, but particularly Jim Steed and Darren Van Steenwyck, because they have attended with me just dozens and dozens of meetings on your behalf. So I just want to send out kudos to them. Also, Sylvia Kinmer, who's chaired our task force, you know, Rodenticide task force. Sylvia's done a fabulous job. She's, you know, even as we speak today, you heard me mention to Val about the implementation of what this is going to look like. Sylvia's going to be a sort of our intermediary in terms of where we go next, what the plan is, good questions that we ask to the department, because the legislation itself, folks, is sort of riddled with uncertainties, and we need to understand as we implement this what it's going to mean to our industry. So we've already talked about a small sort of group of people be working with the department. I talked to Jesse Cuevas, Chief Deputy, yesterday, and let him know that we already have a team identified and ready to help them in implementation. So we will, that's one of the questions I've gotten a lot in the last week about what do we do next. Well, we're going to tell you what we're going to do next, but just give us a little time because the department hasn't even engaged until the governor signs the bill. So that's sort of the latest on AB 1788. I also want to just talk about events as we come into this year as well. It's amazing as we get into this calendar year, folks. We haven't met yet publicly. So we didn't have our Ledge Days, we didn't do Expo, and now here we are, our third event. And I must tell you, our fall event, I must tell you, is probably going to be challenging as we get into the winter event in Palm Springs as well. We just don't believe, based on everything we understand, that we'll probably be able to meet. I've talked to a lot of you sort of personally, quietly, and I think you probably feel the same as it relates to our event in December. We haven't ruled out anything yet, but I think we're going to be honest with you, it's going to be an enormous challenge to meet in December of this year. So we're getting pretty good at this virtual side, and we will keep you fully informed as we proceed. We are also, folks, putting together, with the help of our affiliates, we're going to be doing a Pest Ed this year. It looks like it's going to be in the January timeframe because there's a lot going on. We've come to find out a lot going on in the fall with folks having classes with the affiliate side. We're looking at doing a termite academy again in the February timeframe, much like we did last year. And then that sort of leads us to Ledge Days. And I talked to Dom Damari Friday, and they're planning, just to let everyone know, that this year's legislative session is going to look like next year's legislative session. There's no guarantees we're even going to be able to meet in the building again. They're going to allow folks even in the building again. As you know, it's fully dependent on, vaccines and, all those sorts of issues. But we don't see, at least right now, even as we get to the March, April timeframe, what that's going to look like. There's just uncertainties on our events. And then, of course, next year we're in Disneyland in June as well. So, boy, I don't know about you, but we would sure love to end this sort of just, challenging mess we've been in with COVID at Disneyland. I think it would be a great opportunity for all of us to get together at Disneyland and really sort of celebrate our industry. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we're doing. There's been a lot of effort too, and I just see on the screen here Travis Mickle regarding our virtual golf tournaments. There's a lot of stuff going on related to fundraising. Travis was generous and kind enough to help a fundraising committee. There is a lot going on, folks, in the next 6 months virtually. And we got to make it work. We got to communicate. Our stuff isn't going to go away. Look, the sponsors of the bill, Mr. Bloom's bill, said that they're so pleased and now they want to introduce preemption in California. And just imagine if they presented preemption in California, even though that's a tougher deal to fight, or for us, that's a steep hill for the sponsors. But I'm just telling you, none of this stuff is going away, and we need to be stronger than ever. And I don't care if we can't meet in person, but we have to meet virtually to talk about these issues, because I don't believe what Val just described in a lot of issues. Any of these issues are going away, any of them. So anyway, that's sort of my comments in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer questions between Tom's comments and my comments. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you, Chris. I'd like to call on Greg Augustine for financial treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Can you hear me? Okay. Before I get into the actual report, I wanted to highlight two things. As you know, 3 months ago when we met, there was a great deal of concern about whether we'd be needing to refund funds for both Ledge Day and the Expo, both registration fees and sponsorship monies. And that was a big question for us as an executive committee, what we would have to be refunding. And it turns out that our membership and our affiliates, the people that sponsor us, many stepped to the plate and invested what would otherwise be their fees or advertising monies in PCOC. And I think that in spite of sacrificing whatever advertising they might have otherwise achieved had we had Ledge Days or had we had the Expo, that investment in PCOC and the future of PCOC, I think, will return dividends perhaps even far above and beyond what they might have gotten just out of simple advertising. The health and well-being of PCOC and having Chris on the Capitol and so on and so forth, and having Val Doicini speaking to us today. I mean, not to mention just the fact that we're an essential service. There's just innumerable ways that their investment has paid off in spite of the sacrifice of not getting the advertising, or for those of us who had registration fees at Ledge Day or registration fees at the convention that we just invested in PCOC, I think one and all. With that said, our non-Ledge Day, if you look at the P&Ls, you'll see the Ledge Day income and you'll see the Ledge Day expense. Ledge Day came in at a positive $12,000. So our non-event netted $12,000. So thank you to each and every one who invested in that non-day. Our non-expo, again, there are still maybe people that want to refund and so forth. The numbers may be still a little bit dynamic, but our non-expo, the income side, $88,000, the expense side, $5,000. We came in with a positive $83,000 of net income from our non-expo. So, and that's for one and one reason only, folks decided to invest in PCOC. Thank you all. As the treasurer this year, it's nice to know that we're not refunding that money, and it's nice to know that people believe in our organization. And in fact, we are now solvent, and I think we have a path forward. Of course, with the unknown and uncertainty of events and how much money they'll make this coming year, there's a big deal of uncertainty. I still encourage anyone who wants to donate to Club 2020. It's alive and well, and I'd love to see that number double over the next 3 months. It'd be fantastic to keep PCOC thriving. All right, I'll jump in with that, I suppose, editorial comment. I now will jump into the treasurer's report. If you turn to your balance sheet, as of June 30, 2020, the asset side, total checking and savings are $246,895 and are composed of checking, dues, money market, the building reserve, impound accounts, our regulatory response fund, and encumbered reserves. Total accounts receivable is $108,622 and are principally composed of 1920 state dues of $85,015. 1920 district dues are $16,654. And excuse me, I overlooked. Back to state dues, $85,015 with the allowance for doubtful accounts of $6,500. 1920 district dues are $16,654 with an allowance of doubtful accounts of $12,326. PAPCO in the amount of $73,470, allowance of doubtful accounts of $51,183. AR other $3,491. Next, moving on down the balance sheet, total other current assets are $24,241 and are composed of prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses such as event deposits, and suspense, which are pass-through expenses. Next, total fixed assets are $168,079 and are composed of land, automobile, building improvements, furniture fixtures, and accumulated depreciation. Total other assets are $3,555 and are the equity in PCOC Group, the PCOC insurance program. Total assets come in at $551,392. All right, moving on to the liabilities and equity. We're still in the balance sheet, but we're in the liabilities and equity page of the balance sheet. Total current liabilities are $71,199 and principally refers to trade, the auto loan, and district dues. Trade is bills owed but not paid. Total other current liabilities are $505,065 and are principally composed of payroll liabilities of $3,486, deferred 1920 state dues of $86,308, deferred 1920 district dues of $31,771, deferred 1920 voluntary PAPCO contributions of $90,434, deferred 2021 state dues of $217,662, deferred 2021 district dues of $31,662, deferred 2021 voluntary PAPCO contributions of $25,377, deferred building fund income of $300, deferred professional women and pest management fundraising of $100, vacation payable of $17,912, and sales tax payable accounts receivable of $53. Total equity totals up at a negative $24,872 and is composed of retained earnings of a negative $32,969 and a net income of $8,097. Total liabilities and equity balance out at $551,392. All right, turning over now to the statement of activities. Again, for the period ending June 30, 2020, this financial statement represents 100% of our total budgeted year. June 30 is 12 months at the end of our fiscal year. Income. Total income for the current period, the month of June 2020, is $11,534. Total income for the year to date, the 12 months ending June 30, 2020, which is our entire fiscal year, is $755,729. This is 82.6% of the budgeted amount of income. Expenses. Total expenses for the current period, the month of June 2020, are $46,720. Total expenses for the year to date, the 12 months ending June 30, 2020, which is our entire fiscal year, are $747,632. This is 81.7% of the total budgeted amount. Statement of activities for the current period, the month of June 2020, reported a net loss of $35,186. The statement of activities for the year to date, the 12 months ending June 30, 2020, which is our entire fiscal year, reported a net income of $8,097. By the way, congratulations on coming in with a net income in the year of COVID of $8,097. We're in the black. Fantastic. All right. Questions regarding these financial statements?
Hey, Greg, this is Chris.
Yes.
I just wanted to, someone raised the question regarding what's the Club 2020. And I just wanted to comment, you can add, because this is actually, I believe, your idea, but one of the things that came up at our June board meeting was, some sort of, opportunity to contribute to PCOC, a one-time contribution, because we saw ourselves in a challenging environment fiscally, because of course we couldn't do our events. So we asked folks, I sent out an email, I believe in mid-July, late July, asking folks to, if they'd be willing to our membership, willing to contribute to what we characterize Club 2020 to help us through this sort of COVID challenge we found ourselves in. So that was the rationale behind Club 2020. It's not going to be continuous, but at least to help us get us through this this time.
Absolutely. It feels like the world's still very unfamiliar, but the level of uncertainty that existed in March, April, and May when we were meeting and planning our June meeting was far more intense than the level of uncertainty today. We were looking at borrowing against the building, which has turned out to be impossible, and other things like that. And I think Club 2020 is just a way for the membership to help support us and get us through this extraordinarily challenging time, with the uncertainty of both what was going to happen to Expo and Ledge Day, which now we know, but also the upcoming year and how we'll be able to, whether we'll be able to make money on. If there's no Ledge Day next year, there will be this year on a non-event we made $12,000. If we have a non-event next year, there'll be zero, because people won't be paying for fees in advance. So we have to prepare for. We have a very unknown future, and this is Club 2020 is one way to prepare for that.
Yeah, well said.
Are there any more questions for Greg? Okay, guys.
I dodged every bullet, Tom. How could that happen? Where are those hard questions?
We'll call you later. Don't worry, Greg. We're going to call you later.
Okay. All right.
Check your text messages.
Maybe the Zoom thing is really good.
Hey guys, at this time I'd like to invite Nick Drosofi from Syngenta.
It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces, and appreciate everybody being here today. So the association gave us our 3 minutes of time in lieu of the expo today. So I just have a quick update on what's happening with Syngenta. And if you have questions, you can privately email me or send me a message that way. So a lot of people aren't aware that we have a pretty large portfolio of products. Here's a picture of just everything that we offer to the industry. And that's what it looks like in photo. Okay, so here's a list of all our products by category. And appreciate all of you that are using our products. And this is a list of a map of all of our sales reps throughout the country. So most of you know me, but this is the rest of the team that supports the industry. And then on our technical side, we have Dr. Eric Payson, who's my backup, and he's available for speaking engagements. I know on some of the committee meetings that were happening the last few days, there were ideas about having speakers. So Eric and the rest of our team isn't traveling, so it's pretty easy to go from one Zoom call in Utah to another Zoom call in Oregon and California. Want to remind everybody that we have 3 different cockroach baits. I know a lot of you use our Advion bait, but we also have Advion Evolution, and that is a new bait matrix with the same active ingredient. And then we also have Optigard cockroach bait, not to be confused with Optigard ant gel. This is a brand new active emamectin benzoate. Along with that, we have our sprayable Advion WDG in new packaging. That packaging you see there is for exterior use. And then we also have our Archer insect growth regulator. As far as outdoor sprays, we also have Tandem, which is a lambda cyhalthrin microcap along with thiamethoxam and neonic. So it's very effective on ant control. Those of you that aren't familiar with the protocols that I've put together on what to spray when to keep you legal, as well as provide you the best effective service, email me and I'll be happy to share that with you. It's based on time of year and all the regulations that we deal with in California. We also have a new bottle of Tandem coming out. It'll be agency and it'll be in this new bottle, which much nicer bottle for measuring small quantities. So if you haven't taken a look at that, take a look at that. That'll be coming out this spring. We're in production with that now. Of course, Demand CS, our standby product, and you know, that has long residual for the summer months right now that you've been facing. What a lot of people also aren't aware of is we have these assurance programs. So these programs have been put together by a PhD etymologist, and basically if you follow the protocols that are laid out in these programs, if you get a callback, we replace product for free. And those details are listed on our website on our syngentapmp.com. So if you want to get the details for those, you can download them to your computer from there. Along with that, our Secure Choice program for mosquitoes, we have a lot of support literature that helps you improve your treatments and communication with customers as well, door hangers and homeowners and brochures as well. Another resource that people aren't familiar with is we have a Pest app that's good for both the Android as well as the iPhone. And this is really handy, especially for technicians out in the field. You have the ability to put your tank size in and what rate you want to use, and it'll tell the technician exactly how much to put in the tank. Now, that's a common question I get from technicians all the time. How much am I supposed to put in the tank? Read the label, of course, but those of you that haven't wanted to just refresh your memory quickly, that's a pretty useful tool, and that's available free for download. Lastly, I just want to remind everybody that we have our rebate program, Pest Partners 365. A lot of you already received your first rebate checks in the mail this last month or early this month. And the program starts over again October 1st. So if you have not participated, everybody from a one-man operator up to a Rollins-sized company can participate in this program. And it saves you money, and you get paid out 3 times a year in the program. Not doing it right now, but when things get back to normal, we also have Syngenta Spray Schools, which is a hands-on training class that will walk technicians through sprayer calibration and proper application techniques. So if you're a Pest Partners member, that is available to you, as well as all our technical support and website. So I just wanted to thank everybody for your business this trying year, and good to see all your faces. and look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you very much.
Right on. Thank you, Nick. Now we'll move into new business, and I want to start new business with an introduction of a video. Mike McKenzie and I have worked on a project together, and what we were looking at was, since I came from a Terminix/Clark background and Mike came from Rollins, Mike and I have been really fortunate to go through some different type of training that's not usually offered to the smaller companies. And we thought, well, how can we bring that through PCOC and give that same opportunity to the smaller companies through our leadership? Because we've talked about leadership in the past and how it all refers to how we operate our district meetings. Well, this is just another avenue. We've talked about new, like new operator school, like anything like that. So just watch this video, and then Mike and I will share a little bit about it. It's pretty exciting. Thank you, Foster.
A few years ago, I decided to race against one of my friends. Here was the rules of the game. We said that we would run as fast as we could, as far as we could, and see who could make it the farthest. The person said, on your mark, get set, go, and my friend and I both took off. I made it about 20 feet, and I started feeling tremendous friction. I kept pumping my legs, kept pushing myself, but every step made it a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And after about 30 feet, I heard snap, and I flew backwards, came off of my feet, tumbled head over heels 25 feet back. See, we were on one of those inflatable bungee machines that yanks you back after you've run about 30 feet. Well, my friend and I did this a few more times and thought it was great. But imagine that that's how life was all the time. Imagine that every time you wanted to go to your kitchen, you would make it 10 feet and something would pull you back 5 feet. Or when you wanted to go to the grocery store, you would go a mile down the road and then get yanked back half a mile. That would be incredibly frustrating. And yet, as I've talked to leaders over the last 20 years of leadership coaching and consulting and development, I've heard over and over that that's what your leadership experience is like. You have a vision, you set a goal, you put together a team, and you make it 10 feet, you make it 20 feet, you make it 30 feet, and then snap, you get yanked back because one of your teammates quits. You run again, you go 20 feet, 30 feet, snap, you get pulled back because there's some obstacle, some problem, some challenge that keeps pulling you back. You are a leashed leader. Hi, my name is Dr. Garland Vance, and I want to help unleash your leadership. Over the last 20 years of coaching and consulting, I've identified 7 traits that most leadership problems come down to. 7 traits that if you can consistently build these traits into your life and into your leadership, it's going to deal with the majority of the problems that you experience in leadership. And if you can help your teams develop these 7 traits, it's going to unleash your entire team. So what are these 7 characteristics? It's character, competency, capacity, clarity, community, culture, and consistency. Those 7 traits make up most of the problems that you've experienced. And if you can learn to continually develop those traits, continually evaluate yourself in those traits, continually create those traits within your team, it is going to unleash your leadership. I'd like to invite you into an incredible opportunity with the Pest Control Operators of California. we're partnering together to offer a year-long group training focused on unleashing your leadership. Here's what it's going to look like. Every month, we'll concentrate on at least one of those traits, and you'll get a 30-minute video from me. And then once a month, in a group of 10, we'll join together for a 90-minute virtual group meeting with other leaders like yourself who are experiencing the same types of challenges and problems that you're experiencing. And we will work together to unleash your leadership. I'd love to invite you to be a part of this because your leadership matters and the world and your company need you to unleash your leadership.
Great, thank you. Mike McKenzie, are you on?
No, I left. I'm here.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So, hey, we've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. So if you will just do something for me for just about 30 seconds, can everybody stand up with me? Just stand up for a second and turn your video on so I can see you standing up. All 70 people that don't have their video on, turn your video on. As of course, people turn it off, right?
If you have no pants on, please don't stand up.
That's why Tom's not standing. Got it.
No, I'm wearing pants.
Oh, okay. So stand up, stretch out, jump up and down for a second, get the blood rushing back into your head so you can make some good decisions right now. All right. So what that's called is a pattern interrupt. I just interrupted the pattern that we're in, which is sitting and working while people are talking on Zoom like we all do, answering emails, answering phones, doing all the different things. So what this leadership training is all about, I want to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background as to where it's coming from, and then I want to give you like where it's headed and what the value is of it. So for a lot of years, this association, we have been discussing the gap that exists in our training and our training offerings, and specifically leadership keeps coming up. And I'm talking, I remember when Lee Whitmore was president, he and I had discussions about this. I mean, that's a while back. Mike Bullard, Jim Steed, like all of these different people over the years, we've been discussing how we can offer some sort of leadership training. And I can tell you, I'm super excited to announce our partnership with Advanced Leadership. And so I'll give you a little bit of background of how we found Advanced Leadership. I had a personal experience going through a training and development program, which I've shared with this board of directors a couple of times, but I went through this training program with Garland, and I can tell you hands down, it was easily the best training program I've ever been to in my life. I experienced more growth in leadership and personally than I ever have before. And so I've been in leadership for over 20 years personally. And in that time period, it was an 18-month time period with him, I had more growth than ever. So we initially started down the path, as Tom alluded to, as bringing this to our district chairs as part of leadership. And Sue Fries, you were part of that. So we've expanded it to where we can make this an offering for any company or any individual that's on the call right now. Because all of us are leaders, right? We're business leaders. And so why would we not make it in a time of COVID, in a time of our association growing, open to everybody? So with Unleash Leadership being open for all of us, essentially what it means or what it looks like, as you heard in the video, is there's like a 30-minute video training where you would do that on your own time. And so essentially, the video would get sent out a week prior to the scheduled discussion piece, which is a 90-minute discussion piece, and you would review it at your leisure, and you can watch it 2, 3, 4 times, whatever you want. And then from there, you would have a 90-minute discussion period with Dr. Vance, as well as your group of peers. So the peer group that you would be looking at would be 10 people. So 9 others besides yourself. So we're limiting the group to 10 individuals specifically because we want Garland to have the opportunity to give people personal attention, and everybody would have their time so they could share the issues that they're experiencing regarding one of the 7 C's, whether it's character, competency, or whatever they're working on for that 30-day period, or even 60-day period in some cases. So here's the cool thing. We're going to offer it to 10 people, like I said, but we can also add a second class that'll go concurrent with the same class. So we could have up to 20 people. Okay, so is everybody tracking? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me so far. All right, awesome. And so that being said, up to 20 people can do this class, but your group will have no more than 9 others besides you. So Unleash Leadership will begin the week of November 9th. Okay, and so we're not giving a drop dead day like it'll be on this day, because the way it'll go is once you sign up and you're one of the 10, ultimately Garland, the person that's facilitating it, will coordinate with each individual to find the best fit for each of you on the day, like whatever that day is during the week of November 9th. So pay attention here. The investment will be $300 a month if you're interested. So it's a $300 a month fee, or $3,600 for the entire year if you pay it on a monthly basis. We are offering a discount up front if you wanted to invest and say, hey, I'm going to do the class, or I'm going to pay for somebody to do the class. The investment, instead of being $3,600, would be $3,420. So I got to tell you guys, I've done a lot of research on what classes like this cost, or trainings of this nature would cost. And I'll tell you, there is a lot of options online. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, if you Google like online leadership training, there's a ton of stuff that pops up. Some of it's free, but not with a live interactive experience like this and specific training. Now, the ones that have live interactive and or specific training like this range anywhere from about $7,000 to about $28,000 because they're tagged into a university. So a lot of leadership programs are tagged into universities. I'm telling you all, this is an unbelievable opportunity for this association to really step up our game, number one, and for each of you to step up our company and our leadership skills. So is there any questions on the program that you just heard, and then you heard from me as well, about what the program looks like or what is entailed in it?
Mike, can I add in while you're waiting? You know, I just want to add in that when we talk to him, this is actually going through PCOC. If you were to do this on your own, we're looking at a minimum through him on this program would be $500 a month, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's worked with us, like to reduce the cost so we can offer it to the association.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, he's given us a smoking deal. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're getting a smoking deal for a 12-month curriculum that is developed specifically like tailored to what's happening, current events, and for us right now. And so I can tell you guys, like, his delivery is second to none that I've ever experienced personally. On top of that, like what you get from it, like, I can tell you my leadership skills have changed so much since I've completed and started this class, that the $3,600 is like literally nothing, to become unleashed, if you will, because there's ancillary learnings that you have on top of just, character, competency, clarity, culture, consistency, all the C's. So it's an unbelievable class. So is there any questions or other comments or thoughts on this before I kind of close out? All right, so.
Hey, Mike, do they have any limitation on how old you have to be, or are you too old to take the course?
No, absolutely not. Here's what I'll say. The class is open to anyone and everyone that is interested in their personal and or the leadership journey of others that work for them. Okay. And so there is no limitation. If you've been doing this for 35 years, 50 years, 35 seconds as a leader, you just got put into a leadership role, or you're not even into that leadership role yet, this is a great class for you, because this is the core competencies of leadership. That's what it's all about. So great question, Larry. Thank you for that.
This is one of those investments you make where, like where you actually get the money back through growing your business and establishing yourself. So for people who are new, like not just to our industry, but to operating themselves, or like Mike said, if you've been recently promoted, or if you just like to dial in your business, this is a great opportunity. So that's where we were really excited about it. Adding professionalism, like more professionalism to our industry was one of our objectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and Mike, is there any way that we can send out a link to that video for anybody that I guess we're kind of struggling with the volume on it?
Yeah, we certainly can. And Sarah can make that happen because she has it. It's very simple. So I do want to close out. I'm going to kind of put in one more request. And Sue, thank you for saying that you'd like to join and be in. So basically, in closing, guys, I ask you to invest in yourself, invest in your people, invest in a leader that's experiencing some challenges in your company right now. If you're looking to unleash leadership, please utilize the chat function just as Sue did, and signify that you're interested. The PCOC staff will contact you with a registration form, and you can make a final decision from there. We are looking to have this closed out by October 1, 2 weeks, basically. And the reason for that is to get the data and the information over to Garland and have it ready for you all. We've got to give him a ramp up period. So this is really a week and whatever, however many day opportunity that we have. So please act quickly. This is something that I promise you, like from deep down in my heart, and you can punch me in the throat when you see me if I'm lying to you. Or maybe not the throat, maybe the chest, because
no, throat's out there, sorry.
All right, so, but if I'm wrong, let me know, because I believe this is one of the greatest leadership training opportunities that we will see in California in the near future. So thank you for your time, and thank you for what you're doing. So if you're interested, please put it in the chat function.
Right on, Mike. And I also just want to add too that, of course, this helps support PCOC, and the deal that we made with him is some of that 300 comes back to us as well. So thanks a lot, Mike, and thanks for all the hard work, because this has been actually going on for quite some time, trying to put something like this together. And I know Clark uses this, Rollins uses this, Orkin uses this, so a great job. At this time, I'd like to invite Josh Shoemaker from Bear.
Great, thank you. Let's see.
Hey, Josh.
How's it going? Let me know when you can see that screen. Did I do that right?
Yep.
All right, great. Well, thanks everybody. I want to echo the comments so far. It's really good to see everybody and see faces, and glad that everyone's doing really well. One of my favorite things that attracted me to this industry years ago was the sense of community that everybody has, and it's good to have it here, and really looking forward to seeing everybody in person when we can get back to that. But thanks PCOC for the opportunity today to just give a quick Bear update and talk to you about a couple things that we've got going on, and including something I'm really excited to talk to you about at the end that could really help some people especially. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was our digital rodent monitoring system. If you're not familiar with that, we have a digital system that is used. It's been out there for a while. We have it in a couple of very well-known places across the country, and it's a great tool that if you're not familiar with, please reach out to myself or Gustavo, and we could detail you a little bit more about it. But it's a simple, easy setup that's app-based, very low maintenance. It's very reliable, and even it works great in sensitive environments. We've worked with audit companies, and so it's accepted there. It's very scalable, so it's a terrific opportunity right now, especially if you're having challenges with the social distancing and such in some locations. This is an opportunity where you can just monitor remotely and minimize the amounts of in-person visits and still be tracking those rodent accounts. This is what the system looks like. This is actually an older photo. It's a little bit more streamlined now. But again, the way it works is it saves you from having to inspect, for example, on a weekly, you could go to every other week or monthly, because you're really getting 24/7 monitoring. So you know instantaneously. So it's a nice system. The other thing, you could still, if you wanted to, go weekly and remain doing that if that works better for that account. But then you could spend those extra time rather than inspecting every station individually. You can just take a look around the property, start looking and doing some other IPM things as well. If you were familiar with it early on and maybe haven't looked at it recently, we've added some things like heat mapping. We have an exterior function or functionality now available because we've put some moisture resistance in there. So some things that early on the system didn't have, it's now capable of doing. So if you did check it out before, it might be worth looking at again. And like I said, just reach out to Gustavo or myself on that. The other thing, I just want to provide everybody a quick update. That we've had a lot of questions and people asking about BaroCore because they see it talked about on maybe social media websites or talk to other people in other states. We had anticipated and hoped that we would have this registered in early 2020, but due to a number of reasons and COVID partially, that it's pushed back the registration. We're still right now waiting for the state, hoping that it will happen sometime before the end of the year. But we're not sure. The nice thing about the nice thing about if you're not familiar with BaroCore, one of the great things is it's really designed for complex surfaces and works terrific at low rates on like concrete and things like that. So we'll be talking more about that once it gets registered. The last specific product I want to mention is Suspend Polyzone. If you're not aware, this product's available in drums, and a number of companies in California already use it this way. There's a lot of advantages to doing this. We provide a pump system for one. Then we also provide you with empty service containers, so there's cost savings there on the packaging and such. And then there's also, you're not throwing away as many jugs every day or every week as you would normally, because you can reuse those jugs. And so you get cost savings. We have a system that's totally set up to pick up the empty containers and everything. It's simple, calling an 800 number. It's really turnkey, simple system. So if that's something that might be interesting to you, again, also reach out to myself or Gustavo. The last thing I just want to mention briefly is we have a promotion that's running from September, right from the beginning of September through the end of October. And these are the discounts on the products. So if you're using some of these products, just know that you can get some really great savings right now through the end of October. But one of the things, and what I'm most excited to let everybody know right now, is that we've worked with our distribution channel partners, and we have a special offering to everybody. If you can put together an order for $6,000 or more and just talk to your distributor, that order, we can actually give you terms on that order of June of next year. So a lot of people are concerned about cash flow heading into the winter months and what maybe this economy might bring. Again, with an order of $6,000 or more, a one-time order, you can get terms of June 10th of next year. Now that with that order, you can also take advantage of these savings. So you'll get these discounts as well, so you can apply that. But you can also apply other Bear products that are not part of these savings. And the benefit to that is, of course, the terms, but you also, on top of that, would avoid any potential price increases that happen in January. So we're really trying to help by extending those terms out there and with the winter cash flow and such. So if you are interested in that, again, reach out to your distributor partner or Gustavo or myself, and we'd be happy to talk with you a little bit more about it. So I wanted to thank everybody again for working with us this year. And if there's anything that we can do to help support your business, please let us know. So thanks again.
Great, thank you, Josh. I just also had a private message in regards to the training program. Is this also being offered for our affiliates? And of course, the answer to that is yes, absolutely. I'd like to introduce our next person, John Sanson from Cardinal Professional Products. John?
I hope you can hear me okay.
Looking good.
I'm trying to get there. It's been a real challenging year, obviously, for everyone, including the association. From our company's perspective and my perspective, the association is one of the best partners relationships that we have. So it's easy to support you. When we think of what the role is of the association, they open up so many doors. And obviously for fumigation, it's been a real challenging time. We literally have been going through sulfuryl fluoride reevaluation since 2006. And so for the most part, it's been a real long, arduous process going through worker protection. We've had issues with homeowner reentry, as well as now bystander safety. Appreciate all the support from Douglas, who has had a myriad of consultants that have been involved in the science aspect and a lot of the research. And we're now entering a new phase. So we do appreciate their support in getting these videos together to work with staff. As Janet had said, it's a new group of people. Literally, we have people regulating us that have never been on a fumigation. And so it's a very challenging way to try to get them information so that they know some of the things that we have to deal with and the issues that are involved. I think that the thing is really important. Chris has been totally engaged on this. I was quite surprised to hear Val Doicini's comments regarding, they're not sure about if we would have much mitigation, because that certainly has not been the message that we have received as we look at the numbers, the endpoint numbers. We've thought all along that there's going to be a significant impact to fumigation and the amount of fumigations and how we would be able to do them. I don't know exactly what Val meant by that. Certainly it'll be important for Chris to follow up with Val. We're hoping that message might get down to the actual people that we're dealing with. And I hope he's on top of things. We're entering a new phase. PCOC will have to be more directly involved now in the mitigation that will come as a result of the lowering of the endpoint number. And that certainly is going to give us challenges on how we perform fumigations. We've got a great team of people that have been in this fight, in this battle for many, many years. We've got great partners, fumigation partners like Your Way and Quality and others that have really supported this process. We'll continue the good fight to make sure that we can maintain the integrity of the molecule and fumigation. So for those of you that sell fumigations, do fumigations, receive the benefit of being able to operate as we currently are, please support the association. What you give to them will come back 100-fold, 1,000-fold in being able to continue to operate your business. So appreciate everything the association does, and we'll continue to fight the good fight. So that's my comments.
Thank you, John. Hey, John, I just want to thank you. You know what? Like you're quite heavily, you've always been heavily involved, and I just love having you around. Right now, Jim Steed, you have the floor.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. I'm very pleased with the content of the meeting. It's easy to see that the executive committee has been working hard in a lot of areas to keep PCOC engaged and vibrant. And one of the areas that I think we've wanted to do a better job in our association is recognizing folks in our industry that have been significant pioneers and producers. And so to that end, we have a short video that we wanted to watch. in memoriam for Willie Payne, who recently passed away, to recognize him. And wanted to put the invitation out there. If there are ever folks that you feel like it would be important for our organization to recognize, just reach out to the office and see if we can't make sure that we take some time to recognize folks who have a lifetime in our industry. With that, Foster, if you could, or Sarah, if you could run the video, I'd appreciate it.
Willie Payne passed away suddenly on Monday, August 3rd, 2020, from cardiac arrest. The beloved husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, philanthropist, and founder of Payne Pest Management was 72. Born in 1947 to Mary and Willie Payne Sr. in Saginaw, Michigan, Willie was the eldest of 9 siblings. The family moved to San Diego, California in 1950, and Willie considered himself a native San Diegan ever since. He graduated from San Diego High School in 1965. Afterward, he attended San Diego State University, where he played football under legendary coach Don Coryell and was later drafted into the Army, where he served 4 years as a drill instructor and later as a guard for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. As a civilian, Willie worked as a carpet cleaner, then at Safeway stores, all the while earning a bachelor's degree from National University. It was in 1977 when Willie landed a job at Terminix, where he was introduced to the pest control industry. Willie was a termite inspector for 12 years, managing the Escondido, San Diego commercial branches for 3 years, and in 1994 was promoted to the position of regional sales designate for the San Diego region, where he was at for 13 years. It was during this time where he sold over $2.5 million every year for 8 years straight. In 2006, Willie, along with his wife Kathy and longtime assistant Abbas Rad, left Terminix to launch his own company, Payne Pest Management. With Willie's constant desire to exceed expectations, it's no surprise that their company grew from a 3-person startup to organically grow to more than a $6 million enterprise with 3 offices, San Diego, Orange County, and Los Angeles, and close to 50 employees. Willie attributed this tremendous growth to the great team that worked for him. Some of his mottos were, give everything 110% or don't do it at all, or don't do things half-assed. And his personal favorite, the 6 Ps, prior preparation prevents piss-poor performance. Some of the other accolades Willie earned included Payne Pest Management being in the top 100 pest control companies in the United States after only being open for 4 years, and has been so for 9 years consecutively. Payne Pest Management is also the largest African-American-owned pest control company in the United States. Willie was the #1 salesman at Terminix out of nearly 5,000 salesmen worldwide for 5 years in a row. He was the San Diego Minority Business Owner of the Year. He was a huge supporter of jazz music and was a co-promoter for the San Diego Jazz Festival, which is one of the largest jazz festivals in the Western United States. He purchased studio equipment for underprivileged youth who wanted to get into music production. He was also the chairman for Permission to Talk, a 501c3 foundation that encouraged men to have regular health screenings, and literally dozens of charities and youth organizations that he gave to every year. Whether you were a customer, vendor, friend, or an employee, Willie always made you feel special, like you were part of his family. Willie will always be remembered for his infectious smile and big heart.
Now I'd like to invite Lee.
Thanks, Tom. Paul should be up on here some point as well, but I'll start with the financials. Can you pull that up? That's the pale yellow sheets in your packet. There we go. Scroll up. I'm not going to go through it line by line. The trust, we've had an actual increase in it. I'll talk about that. You can scroll down some. All of those numbers are pretty constant. We don't have a lot of activity that typically happens through the Peacock Group financials. So you can see that assets balance with liabilities and equity at $1,933,724. Statement of activities. You can see we had, this is just, this for the month ending June 30th. Okay, scroll down to the next one. That's only, okay, year to date, that's the column that we'll go with. So year to date, this is like our closeout year to date report. Scroll up some, I'm sorry. A little more. Show the income. So you can see year to date on the far right column, we get 3% of all the policies that are written by Paul and Laura and Michael. 3% of that is rolled back to the association through PCOC, $125,651 for the last year. Interest income, investment income is generated from onshore and offshore, onshore and our trust accounts. And we report that income separately. You can see, okay, scroll down to the expenses a little. You can see the expenses are pretty stagnant as far as what the costs are. We have pretty standard accounting fees each year. Captive expense is what we pay offshore for the folks that manage the money that we have in Bermuda. Consulting fees, $15,000. That's the PCOC Group's contribution to Dominic's team and the consulting work that he does on behalf of us looking into insurance issues. Right now, we have them exploring whether or not personal auto lines minimum coverage standards are acceptable, or if there are other business groups that are, that have been interested in trying to get those increased. We had quite a few claims where we were hit by other responsible parties, and they were either underinsured or uninsured, and that results in our insurance having to cover those losses and it reflecting in the performance of our program. The rest of the stuff, the insurance is standard. All of the other items are pretty much set in stone. $36,000 in PCOC reimbursement. We contribute $3,000 monthly to the association for assistance in housing our operation and the work that we do as far as the insurance program is concerned. So we try to help out with Chris and their team in meeting their expenses. Okay, any questions on the financials? Okay, the other thing, if you looked, there was one line that I didn't mention at the top of the balance sheet was the Schwab investments, and that's our onshore dollars that we have set aside. It was reported at $353,000, I believe it was, and it's went up a little bit in the last couple of days. We've seen the market go down, so it's currently, as of right now, it's at $357,406. That amount has been reduced because for the first time in approximately 7 years, we actually had a collateral call to put money in order for us to renew our participation in the captive program. So for about the last 7 years, we've been able to fund that collateral requirement. Every year that we start a new program, there's cash that's required for us to participate in ownership of that program, just expecting, they almost build it in as if it's going to be just a complete loss each year. You have to have the cash in order to participate at that. And for many years now, we've owned 40% of the programs. That means 40% of the policy results have been what we earn or owe, and the 60% is what our partners at AIX, that was their share of the program. And so for many years, we've been doing pretty well. Now, all of a sudden, for the last several, like 3 years, we've had some pretty atrocious results, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And those losses forced us to have to come up with not only a $270,000 or $265,000 collateral call for this year, but also forced us into having to reduce our participation level from that 40% that we've been at now for several years down to 35%. So we've had to go down and we've had to come up with some cash. And so I just want to talk about that. We'll get back to that. Just keep that in mind. Between the last board meeting that we had and this, we've had Joe and Paul and I and our friends at Paragon, we've had multiple calls and Zoom meetings talking about that renewal as well as the performance of the program. Last Friday, we presented to the executive committee. Each year I try to do this, and it's really like an overview. We probably have about 10 different partners in the captive insurance program. And so I think it's good, as they bring new people into the executive committee and as those partnerships evolve, I like to try to go over that with the executive committee on an annual basis and bring them up to speed. We did that last Friday. We talked about recent developments and concerns as well. And then on Monday, our committee met. We we introduced an annual budget. We worked on creating a financial flow chart that we'll probably have out by next quarter. We received a copy of the trust agreement that we have with Artex. And we had a really nice comprehensive risk control analysis report provided by Bruce Hooker, and he's our risk control specialist with Paragon. He's available to you all as insured as well to provide training and information. He can analyze your losses and give you some insight into what's going on. And then what he did this time is he actually did a one-year study from, I think it was November 18 to November 19, and analyzed all the losses for our program over that period of time and compared them to prior trends when he had done a 2.5-year comprehensive analysis previous to that. What we saw in that analysis was we've seen incredible increase in development in water claims on the GL side. So that's something that we'll definitely need to be talking to you all that are doing inspections in the attics and going in there, whether or not you're using the prescribed disclaimer that has been produced for that. But there's been a lot of money that's been lost on these water claims from broken sprinklers. And even using the disclaimer forces you to have a conversation with the property owner as to where the shutoff is and things like that, which can essentially, even if something does go wrong, they can really mitigate the amount of loss. But more significantly, and the thing that I really wanted to highlight with you all today, is the results that we've seen on the auto side. I've been talking about this for quite some time now. The rate of occurrence on rear-ender and intersection accidents remained relatively stagnant, is about the same frequency, but the cost of those accidents have actually skyrocketed. In the 2.5-year study that was done previous, that cost per occurrence was somewhere, I believe it was about the vicinity of $17,000. And what we've seen in that last year study is the number of occurrences have went up to $52,000 per occurrence. Some of that's been driven by some shock loss claims. And this does not, reflect even some other claims that we've had recently that are even more significant and have eroded the market, and the results even further. In response to that, it's like we can talk about it, and I'll kind of come back to that, but it's really essential that each of you all that are insured with this program, look to see what we can do, to try to improve the results that are happening. In response to that, I think I want to turn it over to Paul, and he's going to go over a program that we're going to roll out, and hopefully this will help. And I just encourage you all to please listen. And if you're with the program or you're not, please take this to heart and see if you might be able to incorporate this into your existing training programs. With that, I'll turn it over to Paul. Maybe.
Somebody muted me, wasn't me. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that introduction. And let me welcome you to what our social engineers call VUCA times, which stands for our times now: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, right? That's how we're all feeling a bit. But let me say one more word about that. They came up with that before the COVID-19. So before COVID-19, VUCA was around. Now we're in COVID-19, so our challenges have only increased. Lee teed it up well. Auto losses are killing us. We've talked about it for at least 3 years, and nothing has really improved. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to ask Laura to jump on here in just a second. There are multiple ways to attack this, to get this down. Training, accountability, driver selection. So before I give you some of our cures, some of our countermeasures, I'm going to ask Laura to jump on and go through the driver selection piece. So Sarah, can you bring up that document I sent you? And Laura, could you unmute?
I am unmuted.
You're unmuted. All right. Or?
So what we're going to bring up now is our driver eligibility guidelines for our insurance program. This is something that our clients, you will recognize this page from your proposals that we give you every year, but we just thought it would be a good idea to kind of go over the specifics.
Can Sarah get it up yet?
I don't see it yet. There we go. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so a couple of things. This is our driver eligibility criteria, and I just wanted to point out a few things. First, at the top, we ask that all drivers be 21 years of age, and what that does is it just gives us a little bit of driving experience as well as maturity. So that's really the thought behind that. We like our drivers to be licensed a minimum of 3 years and actively operating a vehicle within the past 3 years. Sometimes what we see are drivers that have had a troubled past and maybe they've been suspended for a number of years and they finally, got their issues resolved, but we have no driving experience for the past 3 years. So it's difficult for us to take a look at that and send that into our carrier for approval because there's just no experience. And I know one could argue that they were probably driving while it was suspended, but we can't make that argument to the carrier for obvious reasons. And then obviously we want them to have a valid California driver's license. We do see some coming in from out of state, but we just ask that they get their California driver's license as soon as they can. Another topic that I wanted to talk about is what we consider and deem major violations. And these ones, it eliminates them for 5 years. They are not eligible for 5 years if they have any of these violations. So the biggest one that everybody's very surprised about is texting while driving. And although you won't see points assigned to this from the DMV, it is actually, you hear this every day in the news, it is the root cause of our distracted driving. So a texting while driving violation is considered a major violation in our eligibility, and it does eliminate them from eligibility for 5 years. So please talk to your current employees and just ask them to be careful because that texting while driving could really affect their ability to drive your company vehicles. Of course, we have any alcohol or drug related offenses, any reckless or negligent driving, driving with a suspended license, and leaving the scene of the accident and fleeing an officer. I'm actually proud to say I've never seen those last two of any drivers that have come across my desk to approve. But those are what we consider major violations, and the eligibility period is 5 years. So they have to be 5 years old before we can look at them again. And then we have any drivers with a combination of 3 or more minor violations and or accidents, and the eligibility period is 3 years. So any of the other moving violations that they might receive, and any at-fault accidents. So if there's 3 or more of those combinations, and we have a little grid down at the bottom that is a quick reference, but really it's just 3 or more. And sometimes everybody has to report an accident over a certain value to the DMV. So you're going to see accidents on some driving records that were not their fault. So we just need an explanation and some sort of documentation that it wasn't their fault. And we would just like to submit that to our underwriters at the carrier, just so they know, hey, this one wasn't at fault. So really they have 2 minor violations. So that's all we ask when we run into something like that. And some of the minor violations are failure to stop at a red light, failure to yield right of way, following too closely, failure to wear your safety belts, and what we normally see are speeding violations. And another one that we see more in Southern California than Northern California is stopping at the limit line, which means that, you know, you rolled into the pedestrian crosswalk. And I see a lot of violations for that, mostly in Southern California, not really Northern California. So sometimes when I'm working with my clients that are renewing, you know, we run the driving records once a year. And we are required to do that by our carrier, by Nova Casualty, and we have to show them all the driving records for all the employees in a driving position. So there are Fair Credit Reporting. The Fair Credit Reporting Act actually prohibits us from doing that any other time than when required by our carrier. It also prohibits us from sharing any of that information with you. So when we're talking about drivers and what their violations are and where we might have some trouble, you know, it's kind of a tricky situation because we're really not supposed to be telling you, but obviously we're telling you they don't meet the criteria, and we're going to ask you for some details. So there's some information we do have to divulge. But I would recommend, because we can only do that once a year, and obviously we don't want to get surprised. So if there's any operator or business owner on this call that is not currently enrolled in the DMV pool program, I would encourage you to do that. That is going to give you information throughout the year in real time that of what activity your employees are having, and all of their driving activity comes into play, not just while driving your company vehicles. It's anything on their driving record is taken into consideration for that eligibility, simply because driver behavior is driver behavior. It usually doesn't change from their personal vehicle to a company vehicle. If you're on the DMV pool program, you're going to know about those violations as they occur. And if it is one that is significant, like using a wireless phone or texting while driving, or, you know, driving under the influence, you probably have a company policy that speaks to those, that, you know, they should not be using a phone while in a company vehicle. And if they do get this violation in one of your vehicles, you would need to be addressing that with them in the moment, not 9 or 10 months later when I run them again. So it just kind of helps you stay on top of that, so that you can make sure that your company guidelines are being adhered to. And if you have any performance issues, that you're able to address those in real time. Because if you try and do it 9 months later, then that's a whole nother, you know, employment practices issue. And that's what I had. Does anybody have any questions on that? I see some in the chat.
Who does?
Yes, Sue. You're muted still.
I'm gonna do this. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
So good to see everybody. It really is. And I just love this. I would rather see you in person, just like everybody else has said. But I'm just going to share personally from my business understanding and experience that what Laura is saying is very serious. And we had an issue, and I don't mind bringing it up, where I had a guy who was caught texting and driving in his own personal vehicle. I do have DMV pool, but I didn't get notified. And Laura's the one that told me that we have an issue with this gentleman. And he's like, well, when I contacted him, he said, well, it was in my personal vehicle, so that shouldn't even matter. I didn't think it was important. I paid the bill and whatnot. And what we found out from Laura is that it does matter. And that is why we're having so many more issues with it. So I'm just warning you guys and letting you know that what she's saying, it's real, and it's happened to me twice. So just let you know, really, you need to talk to your people. And that's it.
Thank you, Sue.
I'm muting me.
Thanks, Sue. I appreciate that. That she brings up a good point. While that employee is driving his own personal vehicle to do his inspections, he's still driving on behalf of ECOLA. So when his personal limits are exhausted, if he's in a serious at-fault accident, Sue's limits are going to come into play there. So, I mean, it's still an exposure for us. So even though it is a personal vehicle, it's still on behalf of Ecola. It's still on behalf of the company. So you're still liable for those things. Any other questions?
Laura, I'd like to just make a comment about the poll program too. And I don't know why Sue wouldn't have gotten the information. You'd want to check on that because that's really serious. All fumigators are required to be in that as well. But, you know, there was an incident several years ago that there was somebody that was working at a pest control business that had a suspended license. The company did not have any of their drivers enrolled. He was driving at work and caused a serious accident on a suspended license. The company had legal jeopardy there as a result of that because they should have known that he was not allowed to drive and they were having him drive anyhow. So that's another real strong reason as to why you really have to make sure that you have all of your drivers on there and that you track the status of that, you know, because that can be a real exposure for your businesses too.
You know, that's a great point, Lee. And one last topic on this that I'd like to bring up is that, you know, when you do, we call that negligent entrustment, the scenario that Lee just gave you. So when you know you have a driver that has a serious major violation, maybe they're suspended, maybe they got a DUI, maybe they got a texting while driving, those things open you up to punitive damages because these are things that you know about and you are still putting that high-risk driver in your company vehicle. So, you know, we don't see this much anymore, but we used to see it a long time ago. But, you know, when the employee got a DUI in his own personal car on his own personal time, we always got we have to have this guy. He's a key employee. We can't let him go. But also, I understand that, but you have your high-risk employee driving your vehicle and you know that he has this behavior. And if that employee were to drink and drive in one of your vehicles and cause a serious accident, that opens you up to punitive damages because you knew and you entrusted him to drive your vehicle. So, you know, that's why we say no to those things more frequently. And, you know, going to another market because Nova just won't insure those drivers for us, but going to a separate market that specializes in those high-risk drivers, you're still open to that negligent entrustment aspect. So, you know, that's kind of the counsel that we give everyone when they come to us with those types of situations is he worth risking your entire business and your personal assets as well sometimes. So that's a great point, Lee. Thanks for bringing that up. And if nobody has any other questions, I will turn it back to Paul because he has an exciting announcement.
Yeah, so thank you, Laura. Good report. So, you know, we always talk about stuff and so rarely do we do anything about it. We've been talking about auto losses and training, this, that, and the other, and we get maybe 5 or 10 requests a year to do it. So what we're going to do, effective November 1st, we're going to build up to offering driver training 2 times a week for the entire pest control industry, whether you're insured or not. Our goal is to put 1,000 drivers in this next 12 months through the driver training program, free of charge, done vis-a-vis Zoom, and we think will make a huge difference. This association has a history of facing problems head on. Did it in the mid-'80s when insurance wasn't available or was 10,000% increases. We're doing it today in the auto line. So we're going to be reaching out to all of our insureds. We're going to be asking the PCOC to banner this and to headline it, and the PCOC group to support it and roll this out. And we really want all of you to take advantage of it. Whether you're an insured or not, we want you to take advantage of it. And keep in mind, the experts will tell you, only 20% of US businesses train their drivers. That is why the loss ratio in commercial auto is 109%, and the carriers only break even at a 55% ratio. So every time a carrier writes to your auto, they're gonna lose $1.45. So we gotta change that. You can change it now. So with that, let me turn it over to, so that, stay tuned. I hope that piques your interest and you really let that soak in and the value of that for your company. Lee, back to you.
Thanks, Paul. I hope everybody's listening. I want you to really understand, like, So 30 years ago, as Paul mentioned, we started the PCOC Group Insurance Program. It was as a result of general liability policies not being renewed for a lot of our member companies. The rates were increasing 200, 300% annually. There was some really crazy stuff going on on that side of the business. We're facing that. We are literally potentially facing that same sort of crisis on the commercial auto side today. Our results in the program are better than what we see nationally. A month and a half ago, there was a report that came out on commercial auto across the nation. It pegged at 109% of what the premiums are. In order for insurance companies to be able to break even, those rates need to be at about 50 to 55%. You know, so if you think about that, they're more than double on the loss side. You know, the rates, it's just not sustainable. We're going to see some really, really tight market trends on the commercial auto that are going to come into play. And my ask is that a few things. One is clean up your backyards, you know, work on the things that will make you a better insured and will result in better results so that our program has less hits. These are really important. This training that Paul's offering, if you're, and that Laura has provided, and we've had it for a while now, but if you have if your losses are less than stellar, they're going to ask you as a part of your renewal, they're going to request that you actually participate with your employees in this sort of training. That is something that you should embrace. You know, I mean, it's just like teaching your guys how to do pest control, right? You don't want to send them out not knowing what they're doing. You shouldn't, you know, if you're having problems with drivers, you shouldn't be sending them out on the road without having them provide some sort of assistance and tracking of what their results are as well. I'll tell you, my company, the results were not very good initially, and we've really embraced that, and I feel like it's really helped us. The other thing that we've done is we incorporated the use of all the Azuga tools, and whether it's Azuga or some other provider that provides the GPS and the cameras. I had 2 incidents in the last month where the cameras actually resulted in savings of more than I'm going to pay for that for the next 5 years. It actually ended up helping us with 2 specific incidents where it showed no fault of ours and saved me from claims that we would have had otherwise. So I just want you guys to understand we're literally at a crossroads with our ability to even continue to participate in a captive. So over that 30-year period of time, the PCOC Group has contributed more than $3.5 million back to PCOC as a result of the amounts of monies that we've earned. And we've had a really nice run with the captive. But I have to tell you, like some of those off-grid meetings that we've been having, one of them has been Joe and I talking to the carrier about what it would look like if we have to shut the captive down. We only have so many dollars. They've asked us for the collateral call, $270,000 this year. We have hits again. So if they come back to us with another collateral call about the same level, we're going to be about tapped out. And that's going to mean that we're not going to be owners anymore in the captive. And that concerns me because then we have, I think, less influence over what they do with our rates, how we do the renewal, where that goes, whether or not we're able to control the GL market, even in all 9 yards. So I really want to just ask folks, to understand your rates are going to go up. They should be going up everywhere. Any company that comes into the commercial auto market in California and writes under what we're providing, they're not going to be around for very long. And if you're choosing to go with them, you're making a short-sighted decision, and it could ultimately end up costing whether or not we can remain an offering as far as a captive and for the long term. So I really implore you to consider that, embrace the training requirements that our program is putting out there, making an offer to everyone, and kind of stick with us through this hard time so that we can provide a good and valuable product on the backside, and for many years to come. That was the actual mission statement from the founding of the PCOC insurance program from the very beginning, to make sure that we have viable insurance markets for all of us. And I'm telling you, we're at a tough time right now, and we really need you guys to assist us with getting through that. Any questions? Comments? All right, I don't see any. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Lee. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dean Wiley.
At this time, I'd like to call up our PCOC committee chair, Ms. Christine Conejo.
I feel like we need to say things are going to get better. Things are going to get easier. We've made it through. We've pivoted. We've shifted. We're doing everything right. With that said, I'm representing the PCOC Cares committee, and it's time to bring this to the forefront. PCOC Cares has always been given a soft approach, kind of in the background, and now more than ever, we need to be in the front. I guess, and I didn't really think about this, that I'm supposed to be going over these pink sheets. Does somebody, you have to bring those up or something? It's really kind of quick. Basically, the bottom line is we have $34,401.60. We were able to, we started off, and this is for our fiscal year ending June 30th. We started off in the bank with $31,301.60. We were able to, accounts receivable was due to the raffle and probably raffle and donations that were at the virtual expo meeting that brought us to the $34,401.60. And if you'll scroll down, you can see that we show a loss in our income of $107.89. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see why. Pretty much we all know the bottom line for that is we did not bring in as much as we spent. And that's kind of an issue we're having across the board, fundraising and just coming up with money. We did have a $3,600 from our raffle and a $1,000 donation at the expo meeting. And in that month, minimal charges banking, but overall, and the one I really want to point out is even in that last fiscal year, our benevolence was $12,500. That's what I want you to focus on here. Bottom line is we were short $107.89. And if you keep scrolling, it leaves us with $34,401.60. Kind of rushing through that. There's not a lot to see. It brings us to what our committee was meeting about yesterday. Let's keep this committee going, put a focus on it. Even though we had a few Zoom issues yesterday, we still were able to have 11 people in attendance and we got a lot of work done. One of the things we discussed was the difference between our PCOC Cares committee versus our trustees. The committee is who meets to raise the money. The trustees are the ones who review, approve, and distribute the awards that we do give, and it's very well needed. We also happened to take a peek at our bylaws, which really, honestly, and truthfully, probably nobody has ever looked at because it is literally a generic form that was printed probably off of a blank format somewhere. It does not apply to our group. So we have put together a bylaws review committee that will be Leslie, Rob, Willis, Dean, and myself. After that, we went straight into discussing the district liaison, which was brought up at our last Board of Directors meeting. This would be to help distribute the PCOC Cares information down to the district level and make sure it's not dropped here at the board meeting. It was decided that, actually our president, Tom, took the lead on this and decided that this is gonna be a responsibility of the district treasurers. We're going to incorporate that already assigned position and just use them to distribute any information about CARES, what CARES is doing to raise money, if we're passing information along about where we have distributed the money. So Tom is going to be calling a special Zoom meeting for the treasurers to kind of go over this responsibility, as well as maybe defining the current responsibilities that they do have, and that, well, maybe sometimes those things need to be redefined. So that was one of our big goals that we accomplished yesterday. And then we started hitting the fundraising ideas, and we definitely went back over the old ideas that we've had and then some current ideas. But where we want to go with this right now, if Foster is ready, we want to show you one of the little 1-minute videos that, well, I guess it's more than a minute. One of the little spotlight videos on what an actual representative or someone that has received money from the help of PCOC Cares. Foster, do you have that ready? I can't see Foster, so, oh, okay.
CARES stands for Committee Action Relief in Emergency Situations. And basically what it is we help out families in need, member families, employees and their families. So far we have given out over $328,000 since 2001. And if you need assistance or help, you just go to the website, download the application and send it in. Thank you.
And I wanted to share my story about PCOC Cares. In 2009, my husband was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, at the age of 43. And at the time, we didn't really know what ALS was, but we learned that it was a terminal illness, and with 3 young children, he had 2 to 5 years to live. He went from being an athlete to a wheelchair and not being able to talk within 3 years. So my husband passed away in 2012, and it was a very lonely time, and it's been a long journey knowing that PCOC is here. Everyone's like a family. PCOC Cares has done so much for us. I just wanted to encourage everyone in PCOC to give to Cares. They have been so wonderful to our family. I love the pest control operators and everyone at the meetings. Everyone's supportive. We're like a big family. And I just thought maybe putting a story behind Cares and giving a face to what they do would help encourage you all to give more. So thank you, Cares, and thank you to the industry for being there for our family.
It's a pretty touching video. It is just one example of how PCOC Cares has literally helped part of our family. And I've always been one to consider us a family, because in this industry with this association, one of the things I'm most proud of is that we work together, we act as a family, we come together to do what's best for the entire family, and we don't always let competition get in the way. That's a little bit of old school. If you were in here long enough, you saw some of that. We also discussed right after we were going over why we need to raise money, what's the importance of helping our family, was, well, you know, we say it's, you know, in that video, Dean said, you just go to the website and you can donate. That's a little overwhelming for some people. So I don't know, I believe Sarah and Foster were also going to put together a little video of just how easy it is. Did we get that one done? Sarah, Foster?
Yeah, I don't think that we got that done. It's real easy to donate. I put on the in the chat there the link to PCOC Online. Basically, you can just go in there and just click on that. We didn't get a chance to put that together, but it's really easy to donate. You just go into that link, and you can put in the amount you want to donate, or there's preset amounts there, and you can just go in and donate. So it's real easy to do. Just a couple clicks, and away you go.
There's actually a tab at the top that says donate, and there's also, it's on the page. I think what first pops up is the new 2020 donation.
Yeah, and the
And
link
then right above that, you can actually see a tab for PCOC Cares.
Yeah, and the link I put in the chat here takes you directly to the PCOC Cares donation page. So there's nothing that you need to do. But yeah, you're right. When you get on that, I think Sarah's going to show the our website here so you can see where that's at. So she's going to do that right now.
Okay.
So there's the donation online page, and you can see PCOC Cares at the top. You just click on that, and that'll take you right to the site there. And it's even got the video that we had, and just go in and make your donation and put in the amount you want, or there's set amounts there, and hit donate, and it'll take your credit card information, and away you go. So that's the link that I put in the chat, is right to that. So it's very easy to find that.
Perfect. And we do, anybody that wants to just choose to hit the link today and donate, we're actually calling call of action to pass the hat right now. Any district, any person that personally can give back. And I'll tell you what, we've already just this week received an application for some help, and we want to be able to help as much as possible. We have, in the past 4 years, we've given out over $50,000, and we haven't replenished it. So that's leaving us down to, and now another point I want to make right now is, over the last 3 years, we've averaged about, well, we've actually given out 5 different benevolence awards for fire victims. And in every case, that was basically an emergency need rent to get them into a new home because they lost everything. Now, as you know, the entire state of California seems to be on fire. We can only imagine that we're going to get a minimum of 5 requests just for fire alone. We've also got people that have been affected by COVID. There's only so much that, as an employer, you know, you're giving 10 days of pay and all of those things, but sometimes it's going longer than that. There's a lot going on right now. So normally speaking, we're not out here preaching to everybody to give for PCOC Cares. We generally have relied on our little fundraisers, but this is a time where we can actually maybe show a little bit of thanks to our industry. Number one, thank you to our executive board for fighting and getting out there so that we were deemed essential from the beginning. So many of us have been able to work and keep going and actually be pretty strong through this. And I believe in, you can't outgive God. You know, the more we can help others, the more that we're going to be sustained. The other thing we're going to do is, and this is a great idea. Of course, we're planning some sort of a fundraiser for the next expo season. That'll be fun. And we expect that you will help us promote that and support that, as well as give. But we're going to do, Tom and Foster are going to put together a call to action video. Pretty excited about this. They're going to shoot on site, just basically to reiterate what we're saying here. Now is the time for PCOC Cares to be brought to the forefront and to be taken seriously. With that being said, is there anything else I'm supposed to cover as a committee person thing that I haven't? I'm usually the worker bee in the background. I'm not usually the screen name.
Just take questions, Christine.
Okay, do we have any questions, and people can help me watch that?
Christine?
Yes?
Orange County is going to donate $300 to CARES.
Thank you very much.
I put that in the chat so that way Sarah has that as a tracking.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I might get a little teary-eyed because it's very important. And just from that little video, we can see how much we really do help. And I know that San Bernardino County District will be donating as well. I just am not at liberty to say the amount right now because my treasurer hasn't answered.
Hernandez Sewing will donate $100 to CARES.
Thank you.
I'm writing all these down.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to do that too, and I'm like,
nope, I got it.
Quality Pest Services just went online and used the link and donated $300 to PCOC Cares.
Thank you, Lee. Was it as easy as we're saying?
It was very easy.
Okay. That's one thing I'm going to say. Over all these years of committee meetings, if you go back far enough, you know the website wasn't that easy. This is something to be proud of. That donate is pretty easy. And we will be sending out follow-up emails, just as reminders if you're not in the position to go on and randomly donate today. This is not something that we're going to let slide through until our next board meeting. You should be getting updates pretty regularly. Of course, the people that we help, it's pretty confidential, so we can't exactly tell you what's coming in, but I can tell you they've already started coming in. So any help will help. Any other questions?
Yeah, Newport Exterminating would like to donate $300 in the memory of Tom Meany, because this was his baby.
Thank you so much. All right. I will type my email in the chat box as well if you would like to reach out to me. Anything will help, and then we can move this meeting on to our next chair.
Great, thank you, Christine. Next, I'd like to call on our membership committee chair, Ms. Nicole Keefe.
Hi there, can everybody hear and see me? Nice to see you guys, kind of. Hopefully one of these days soon we all get to actually see each other and share a cocktail or something soon. So I'll keep it brief. Membership was a great meeting. There's about a dozen of us on there, and we discussed the current status, which is there's 46 new members. Karen is currently sending out non-member letters to new companies.
We got 47. I got one at 6:30 yesterday morning.
That's our girl. Good job, Karen. Make that 47. She's sending emails to members that have not paid dues for 2021 to get ahead of that. And in Q3, she's going to ask district chairs to help her work on that by sending non-payment lists to help drive renewals. Distributors recently, and there's a few that are still pending, got some membership signs and applications we made for their lobbies so that they can get that up and have that there to present as people come in for their products. And we hope that'll help be a nice driver for us. And we just added a new member benefit to the member value profiles. UMA, O-O-M-A, it's a VoIP that's always on internet. And they're offering a $20 Amazon gift card just for listening to their demo. So that might be something of interest and help drive some folks. We reinvigorated the conversation about Mentor Match, and what was funny is as soon as we finished the conversation, Karen got a request for somebody to help mentor them. So we think it's a valiant effort. We've started reaching out to NPMA and discussing how we could do it more manually than they do, because they have a much more automated platform that wouldn't be a right fit for us. So more to come on that. We discussed AB 1788 being a driver for membership. A lot of people between the pandemic and that are going to be looking for guidance on how we're evolving our businesses right now. So Karen's got that on all of her letters. We are going to put together some blogs about the fight of what we're doing for the industry right now and help really try and push that. And let's see, was there anything else I didn't mention? Working on, I know there's some people working to put together kind of a post AB 1788, how you're gonna work training class. And we talked a bit about helping that drive some membership by having it available for members and non-members. So that's kind of a wrap of what we had. Great to see everybody. I hope you're all well.
Thank you, Nicole. I don't think the fumigation committee met, so now I'd like to call on your fumigation enforcement chair, the Honorable John Sansone.
Well, I'm honorable this time. That's great. Thanks, Dean. Fumigation enforcement met last Tuesday, and you know, we had 25 people from the 4 counties and also from state DPR. So LA County, let's talk a little bit about them. Surprisingly, you know, this was the 4th quarter for them, which was April, May, and June. So that was really the key COVID restriction months. So fumigations were down by 36% over that 3-month period. Surprisingly, their inspections were up. So for the year, they finished at about 26,000 fumes, $207,000 in the program. Let's talk a little bit about Orange County. They only inspected at a 3% rate for this time period. Their fumigations for that 3-month period were down 40%, which is, you know, that's a huge number. Their inspections of actual fumigations in the 3-month period dropped from 204 the previous year to 75 in that quarter. For the year, they finished at about 14,000 fumigations total, $109,000. We had not very good results in San Diego County. They had an inspection rate for that quarter of 1.6%. Fumigations were down 31%. Their inspections dropped from 100 in the previous year to only 51 inspections done in that 3-month period. For the year, had 16,000 fumigations for 128,000. Santa Clara County reported some really off numbers. They were very heavy hit by COVID, especially early on, and they really had severe restrictions. Their inspection rate was less than about 1%. For their fourth quarter, they were down 42%. Their inspections actually dropped from the previous year, 54 inspections, and they only performed 2 inspections in 3 months' time for that period. For the year, there are about 5,500 fumes, $44,000. Regarding Structural Pest Control Board, we'll just make a few comments. Many of the people on the fume enforcement participated in the Structural Pest Control Board subcommittees regarding the OFN 1970.4. That's subcommittees are headed by Darren Van Steenwyck. We appreciate the opportunity to provide comment and information. I know many people were online. There's 2 subcommittees, one for branch 2 and 3 and one for fumigation. The branch 2 and 3 has met a couple of times recently, and I think they're making some progress regarding the pre and post postings that need to go onto the door for the occupants. Regard to branch 1, they pretty much have scrapped the original draft that was sent out, and we have not seen the revised draft for the branch 1. We did note that we didn't think it needed to be dramatically changed, and hopefully we'll be having a subcommittee meeting sometime in the next couple of 3 weeks. DPR reported that their training will be held online through Zoom in October, and the exact dates are, see, I'm missing that right now in front of me, but anyways, it'll be the end of October. There's no demonstrations. They may still need help from industry, and hopefully we're going to be able to provide what they need, videos, et cetera, training programs. And the last item is really to discuss the reevaluation and the endpoint. The addendum to the risk characterization document is now posted online. And, you know, we didn't anticipate that it would be 0.41. We were hoping we could get the endpoint, proposed endpoint, to be closer to 1 or over 1. And right now it looks like it's being proposed at 0.75. It's been reviewed by the Douglas consultants and others. And it's a very technical report regarding science aspects of toxicology and routes of exposure for sulfurofluoride. It does not really deal with mitigation. What will deal with mitigation will be the modeling that takes place through environmental monitoring. They are working through the inputs for the model. We know that when we've modeled it before on some of the jobs that have been done, we needed endpoints of 1 or above 1. So 0.75 is going to be really challenging. It'll be interesting. You know, staff has let us know that some of the parameters in this we would actually not be able to do. So we're hoping to work through this. We're encouraged by maybe Val's comments We hope that maybe the staff will actually get that message. So we'll continue to work through it and, see where we, actually wind up in the future. As Janet had said, we're working on these videos. We will probably be interfacing with DPR in the next month to 2 months and be putting on a presentation for them. So that's my comments at this point. We'll keep you posted. We're hoping to at least meet at some point in the future. We certainly miss seeing all of you guys. Maybe Palm Springs will be different. If not, let's everybody be safe. So that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, John. Great job as always. I'd like to now turn the meeting over to your treasurer, Mr. Greg Augustine.
Hello. Okay. With that, I'd like to call up Sylvia Kemure with the Rodenticide Task Force. Sylvia, are you with us today? Can people hear me? Am I working?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Sylvia, are you with us today? Sounds like not. All right, next. Vince Scoville, do you have a report for the building committee? I think I saw Vince earlier today. Vince, you out there? Well, this is getting easier by the minute here. Okay. Next is the Advisory and Nominations Committee. Mike McKenzie, do you have anything to report?
No, there is no report.
Okay, thank you. And finally, the Scholarship Committee. Jackie Clark, are you with us today?
I am with you.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Good, I found somebody. Finally, I got somebody live. Here we go. Do you have a report, Jackie?
I do, and we're going to go ahead and do the July balance sheet and the statement of activities as opposed to going through June. Our fiscal year ends at the end of September, so basically I'm going to go through the end of the year, or sorry, through July 31st. So if you look at our balance sheet, we have a total assets of $268,906, comprised of our UBS account, which is $268,506 and $400 in our accounts receivable. And if you go down to our liabilities, we have retained earnings of $287,499 and a net income of negative $18,593, which balances out. If you go to our statement of activities, again, I'm just going to stick with the July year to date. You can see that our total income through this year is negative $2,444. And that mainly comes from, you can see that large hit we had on our market value of decrease so far this year is the $14,189. We did have some, okay fundraising this year, $2,300 in fundraising, and then we did have interest income of $9,205. Going down to our expenses, you can see that we had $2,300 in accounting for the year, and fundraising expenses of $1,058. And we had professional fees of $2,709 and scholarship awards this last year at $10,000, giving us our total expenses of $16,149 and our net income of that negative $18,593. So similar to everyone else that's dealing with financial stuff right now, we are struggling with our finances because we've not been able to do our fundraising events at our board meetings. We also have on the same website that CARES has, we have the ability to, you guys have the ability to donate to scholarship. We try to give scholarships out. We try to give about $10,000 of scholarships out every year. That's the goal. We'd like to do more if we could. At this point this year, we're looking at potentially having to scale back the scholarships that we're going to be able to give out, just because we don't have the fundraising opportunities. So any donations that you guys can do, that would be great. We would really appreciate it. We're also talked in our committee meeting yesterday about doing a virtual raffle, and in hopes of having our expo next year. We're going to be raffling off a 4-packet of the Disneyland Hopper tickets. And so we're really excited about that. And we're going to have some information coming hopefully in the next couple of weeks on how you can actually, how you can purchase the tickets for that raffle. And hopefully that can generate some fundraising for us as well. In addition to that, we also talked about the bylaws for the scholarship committee, and we're going to be reviewing those and discussing that more at December board of directors meeting. And that is about it for our committee report.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I see on the chat thing that Sylvia's back. Sylvia, do you have a report for the rodenticide task force, Sylvia?
Great, thanks. Doorman came. Hey, so I wanted to let you guys know that the task force is going to be meeting. We reported at the general pest session, but we'll be meeting in about 2 weeks to kind of go over what's the next step for our group. Do we look at how do we help DPR with their mitigation? We did come up with some best management practices. Well, Darren and Neve came up with best management practices, but how do we present that? How do we protect the actives we have? And so look for our group to start, continuing our work in keeping the products we have still available. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll be meeting in a couple weeks. You'll be hearing from us.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you very much. Okay. I guess you're changing paces from fighting 1788 to figuring out what to do after. Is that right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Very good. All right. That concludes the committees under my name. Next, I would like to bring up affiliate representative Chaz Estrada. Chaz, you there? Hello, Chaz.
Maybe not. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Chaz. Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, how's it going? Okay, so this is my first time doing this. So do I give my affiliate committee report and then the PR committee chair steps up?
No, you might as well start with the West Coast. Oh, wait. Why is it on here twice? Oh, Sylvia, you have the Rodenticide Task Force and then the West Coast Rodent Academy. Those are two different things. But the first one under your name, Chaz, is the West Coast Rodent Academy. Maybe Sylvia comes back up for that.
Gotcha.
So we have the dates. It's November 12th and the 13th. I think Neve is updating the website right now. The registration will be running through the University of California. In fact, she was on a national webinar and announced the dates to everybody. And so PCOC members will again have priority registration and a discounted rate. Once we figure out how much this is all going to cost us, we're trying to keep it as low cost as possible. But we picked the topics that would benefit industry the most moving forward from AB 1788. And so there we have a lot of things that we have some fun things planned. And we do have Dr. Bobby Corrigan that's going to be speaking on day 2. So stay tuned. Hold the dates, November 12th and 13th.
Sweet. Thank you, Sylvia. Ralph or Blair or both of you guys, do you want to give your PR committee report?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chaz. So Blair unfortunately could not report right now as she's on another call at this point in time. I think we're a little bit over. So, so I'm going to cover her section and mine as well. So first I'll introduce myself. I'm Ralph Reese. I'm one of the co-PR chairs. And my talented other co-chair is Blair Brooks from Clark Pest Control. So right now, our social media review, just kind of talk about that. I guess in a way, COVID is good for all the detached stuff that's going on right now, because our LinkedIn went from 364 to 364 followers. Our Instagram is from 316 to 338 followers, and our Facebook is 734 followers to 679. So it looks like we went, no, 769, excuse me. And then the likes on there are 651 to 679. Our YouTube went from 91 to 106. What this basically means is we have more people engaging and looking at us from a social media platform. So that this is all good stuff. Moving forward on the next piece, we are working. We have a content shared folder that we have on for PR on the Google Drive shared folder, and that's something that Blair has there. So the idea about that is that way we can have a common place for us to put shared information from across the different committees, and districts as well. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then lastly on her part was we're linking our social media sites, making sure that one of the things we found out in the last meeting was that not all the social media sites are actually linked with each other or were listed on each other's sites. So that was quickly corrected. And so that way, whichever site you go to, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, whichever, they all have the same links there, so that we can click on that and quickly go to the appropriate site. With that being said, Chaz is now the affiliate representative, and so one of the things that he did on the way out, I mean, he's still a part of our committee, don't get me wrong, but one of the things he did on the way out, thank you, sir, done the way out, working with Foster, is they came up with a video. Chaz wrote the script and Foster put it together, and then what we did was we paid for a gentleman to basically read it, and he has the voice. We're going to show that video now, but before I show that video, just to kind of lead into this is the kind of caliber and quality of video that we want to start putting out. We want to put this kind of caliber of video on our YouTube site and whatnot. And we're really excited about it because, like I said, we feel it's a pretty good quality video, and this is the kind of stuff we want to start doing with regularity. So with that being said, Foster, can you roll that beautiful bean footage, please?
The Pest Control Operators of California, or PCOC, is an association comprised of pest control professionals from local communities statewide. Most members are family-owned and operated businesses with an interest in the latest techniques and practices to promote continuing education and stewardship. Did you know, as pest control operators, it's not only our job to defend your homes from general pests, but to protect your food supply from rodents, cockroaches, and stored product pests, schools and parks from stinging and biting insects like red imported fire ants and mosquitoes, medical facilities from pests that may contaminate with pathogens and/or disease, and your travel and lodging from the dreaded bed bug. Members of the PCOC meet regularly to discuss our industry's current events and communicate thoughts as a collective throughout the state. As an organization, we fund research to local universities. We have charities focused on emergency relief for members and scholarship funds that are raised for ambitious individuals seeking self-improvement. Our legislative advocacy means we're always looking out for harmful legislation that could impact our ability to protect public health and combat pests that can vector major diseases like typhus, West Nile, and even the plague. So the next time you hire a pest control service, make sure they're current members of and backed by California's Pest Control Association, the Pest Control Operators of California.
You guys think about that, huh?
It's awesome.
Right?
I think it's fabulous.
Right?
Great video.
Thank you. So props to Foster and Chaz. Good job on that, gentlemen. With that being said, the thought on that was, you know, when we've been reporting on like LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, which, by the way, this is all important stuff as far as having engagement with individuals or you know, getting our name out there. But the thought process on that was the eyes buy, and if a picture's worth 1,000 words, what's a video? You know, a video reaches multiple people across multiple medium. You see it, you watch it, you get it, you know? So we wanted to cover some of the basic points on that stuff, and then, you know, something that would represent us well. So moving forward here on my section, so one of the things we also discussed at our committee was that the PR committee actually cross-pollinates, no pun intended there, but cross-pollinates about through a lot of different other committees and can help to support those committees with our efforts and actions. So we're sort of touching a lot of different individual committees and whatnot. And so one of those things that we talked about was merchandising. Merchandising is being talked about as far as setting up an online store. The thought process there, just as an overview, is to reach out to a vendor like Teespring that will have an on-demand type option. So the thought process there is we're not investing anything to have some sort of amount stored off to the side that doesn't ever get sold or whatnot. So that's sort of the way things are going. So you're not stuck with, like I said, assets sitting there. And that's another way just to get our name out that way, and also supply us with passive income. Text alerts, we talked about this at the previous BOD. Quite a few other districts have started getting this started. It's the auto messenger. The one that we utilized was easytexting.com. Basically, it just helps to disperse information across an alternate medium than email, and you hit a whole bunch of different people at the same time. Email's great, but again, text messages works faster and better, or more widespread. Excuse me, I won't say better. We've had success with it in my district, and I know it's been utilized in some other districts as well. So if you guys have questions about that, you guys can hit me up, and I will put my email before I close out. I'll put my email in the chat there. Let's see. Social media, again, we talked about making sure everything's linkable with connections between all sites and updates on all the social platforms. We want to make sure we're being more active with checking that. So Blair's like all over that. And so she's making sure that we're updating things as much as possible. If there's things that you guys want to add on to it, please, either email Blair and I, and we can add it onto the sites as well. Tips for Zoom meetings. Okay. I got a comment here. Hi, Mike. Okay. So, tips for Zoom meetings. So one of the things we found out also is that there's a lot of districts out there that aren't meeting in any format. And right now, if you're not doing a meeting, if you're not doing any kind of meeting, I think that's key to the vitality of any organization. I think one of the points I made on our committee is, our engagement is absolutely required to ensure the vitality of our organization. We need to be meeting, and whether that is, we can't meet physically. So, finding a way to do that digitally. Zoom is definitely one of the more common, platforms you can utilize. There's several others out there, but one of the things we want to do is have a quick little video, if you will, on the site where someone could click on there to see how do I set up a Zoom meeting, because attending a Zoom meeting and administering a Zoom meeting are definitely different things, because I've done both, and it's like, whoa, it's a little bit different. So it helps someone to set up the Zoom meeting so that way they can run a successful Zoom meeting either at their company level or at their district level. So then access to the PCOC media. Essentially, we were talking about basically trying to post a little 2-minute ongoing videos about once a month or so. We might be able to do more as we start getting out of season and start getting more repetition going. The thought process there is, it can be everything from how to take care of an ant problem to other things. And it's, it'll be, again, it can be from different representatives from different districts, whoever wants to participate in that. So you're not seeing the same face over and over again, but that way it's a helpful tip. And the whole point about that is this will hopefully encourage non-members also to be a part of the PCOC. This will hopefully encourage non-members to be a part of the PCOC as well, because these are going to be helpful things that can be accessed from YouTube or whatnot. And so therefore there'll always be like a, click on the link below or something of that nature to link you to the PCOC site and to encourage membership. So that way they can see like, hey, we have all these resources that will help companies large and small. The last thing we talked about and on our committee, well, the last new business thing we talked about was a district liaison or representative. And the whole point about this is, one of the things we notice is that we come to these BODs, and whether it's a district chair or a director or whatever, there's a lot of information that someone takes in. And so when you go back to your home district, that stuff just falls off radar. And then you're still talking about the same thing 2 or 3 BODs later. And nothing's been, very little has had traction. And it's not necessarily the director's fault or the chair's fault or anybody's fault, other than life happens, So what our thought was is to put legs to every committee, or a lot of the committees up here were starting to have liaison representatives that would be in those districts. The representative stepped forward and basically his recommendation and direction was that we will have the vice chair. This will be an added responsibility similar to the fundraising committee where that responsibility was added to the treasurer. Well, this will also be an added responsibility to the vice chair if a volunteer is not available, because we don't want to stifle energy from someone that really wants to do this. So you might have a representative that wants to do it that isn't on the committee at all. So so that's coming out too. So last piece on that is action items that we talked about, or videos. So we had we're going to be doing some videos to help support our brother and sister committees, the Legislative and General Pest Committee. We're going to be working with them to create a video and an FAQ regarding how do we live in a world of AB 1788 and what do we do? Again, that's going to come when info is available. We don't have any information available right now, but that will be coming as well. So we'll have a whole bunch of other educational videos coming as well, and we're a series on tips of the trade. So, let's see here. I think that's about it right there. That's the long and the short of it, the broad strokes, and even some of the more detailed stuff. So that being said, are there any questions?
Hey, this is Larry Treelevin. I sat in on your meeting yesterday, and I think it was Blair or you or somebody asked me to reach out to Cindy Manis from PPMA, which is an affiliate group with NPMA. And she said that they would be willing to share whatever they're doing in the way of public relations in California so that you know what they're doing on their end as well. And she would even be willing to speak to the board or to a conference when those get back in place. So she did get back to me, so I thought I would share that with you and let you and Blair and Chris know her response from that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Hey, Ralph, I just want to say to you and Blair, thank you all for the video. You guys did a fantastic job, and I know everybody's commenting on it. So well done. Thank you for that. I think that changes the game for us. So again, thank you from on behalf of everybody, I think. So,
yeah,
well done.
Mike, I just wanted to concur. I mean, I think it's fabulous. That's the sort of stuff that we should be doing, telling our story anytime we can. And this technology allows us to do it. So I think it's a fabulous job.
Yeah, we got to give credit where it's due. Chaz and Foster did a lot of that, the heavy lifting.
That
in good hands.
It was a team. Great job.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Chaz. Thank you, Foster.
Sweet. Wonderful job by Blair and Ralph. So I'll get through this affiliate committee report as quickly as I can. So we discussed the fact that it's a very interesting time to be an affiliate right now, and that it's really hard for us to get in front of our customer base. And so we think it's important to be able to partner with PCOC to make sure that opportunities are available so that we can still give you guys money, right? So we need sponsorship opportunities. The Club 2020 was a great idea. And then even, some of the affiliates that stepped forward and I wouldn't say donated, but they found other means to make sure their funds for Expo were used. So huge shout out to the affiliates that did that. But the virtual golf tournament came up, and I think that the fundraising committee is probably going to touch on that. So we had a few ideas of things that we'd like to see there, maybe a banner or something that could be printed out and used as a mulligan with the logo of the company or affiliate that's sponsoring, perhaps a raffle. I think it's a little easier to do those digitally. We are facing some challenges with some of our events, I think. And I think this might be a touchy subject, so don't roast me. But Pested, especially since it's become more digital, has had a little less engagement. And so we were really hoping that the membership today could give us some feedback on what you guys would be looking for. I know DPR hours are in pretty high demand right now because I think some of the PAPA stuff isn't happening. But PAU hours are also pretty important. If you have specific content or speakers or classes that you'd be looking for. And then even, potentially running Pested back through the distributors like they did in the past so that we could leverage our customer bases essentially and get them a little more exposed to PCOC, and that may be a larger topic. We'd also like a survey that's put out afterwards, similar to how the Rodent Academy operates, so that we can sit down and kind of have a powwow and go, okay, where do we hit or miss? So feedback is always super, super important, but we really just need to figure out how to get the membership, especially here today, the ones that are involved, more involved, and maybe even get additional non-members involved in some of the digital training when our training is the most accessible it's ever been. It will never be more accessible than right now when people are at home in front of computers. So Saturday classes, things like that. Should we have one big class, one day you block off, or do they need to be after hours? All of that stuff we would be looking for input on. But we would like an opportunity to see you guys and again, sponsor an event before the end of the year, or potentially, Q1, January, like Chris was saying, for Pested. So if we could get your guys' commitment to Pested, and if there's a contingency like, hey, we want to see more of this, we would love to make those changes now so that we can engage more folks. That's all I have. If you have any input, period, please you can talk to me now. You can approach the executive committee. You can email me. But that's one thing that we really need to figure out how to do a little bit better is get a little more engagement in some of these events. Thank you. I guess actually I'm going to turn this over to Mary Hernandez if there's no questions.
Okay, hi everybody.
Mary Hernandez.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Mary.
Oh, okay, great. Hello. I'd like to open this up with the Termite Committee, Garrett Thrasher. Do you have anything to report, Garrett?
I don't think the Termite Committee met, Mary.
Okay.
Nor did Constitution bylaws.
Okay, so Travis Mickle with the Fundraising Committee, our newest committee. And Travis, I have to apologize that even though I was prepared, I was unable to get onto your meeting. So take it away.
No worries at all, and thank you, Mary. So as you know, revenue and the ability to generate it is down somewhat in our current situation, and yet the need for a strong association is greater than ever. And as an association, we don't want to just merely survive, we want to thrive. And so this committee was put together to see if there were ways that we could help out. And I wanted to start by just saying I'm thankful so much for everybody that has agreed to join this committee and donate some time and effort and expertise at making it successful. We currently have 18 members. We're looking for one from each district. We have most of the districts covered, but there's a few that we don't. If you're part of a district that has no representation on this committee yet, please let me know if you'd be interested. We've had over 20 people on our first phone call, and I'm very grateful for the turnout. I felt like it was very positive, productive. We had lots of great ideas shared, and we have a great plan of action moving forward. I want to do a quick synopsis, but before I do, I think Mike McKenzie was aware of this, but there's an unwritten law in PCOC. So an hour and 40 minutes, you do have to have a little bit of a wake-up call. So mine's going to be a little different than Mike's, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning on that right now. So studies have found that the best way to do this is to combine exercise, stretching, and physical dexterity. And fortunately, we can do all these things sitting at our desks or wherever you are with objects within our reach. So first thing I'm going to do is ask everyone to stand up. This is the exercise part. So we stand up. Very good. Everybody? Yeah, come on. I can't be the only one. Then we sit down. And then we stand up once more. Now you got to join me on this one. And I won't make you do it again. And then men, try to reach for your wallet with the hand opposite the pocket your wallet is in. Ladies, do the same, but with your purse. So if it's on your left, use your right hand. If it's on your left, use your left hand. And then use the other hand. So that's the stretching part of it. Now pull out your wallet. You can sit down now if you want to. Pick it up with one hand only. Try to open it up and take a credit card out. Oh, you guys see where this is going, right? What kind of a fundraising committee would we be if we didn't ask you to reach for your credit cards? But you can actually put your credit cards away right now. We're not going to ask for any credit card numbers. We are, though, going to be asking for some pledges here shortly, so be prepared for that. We do need to have support for the state association, so we want to try to do all we can to help it out. So for the synopsis, our main focus as a committee is going to be to financially help the state association. Some of the ideas will be able to be used by the districts, but our main goal is going to be to help the state association. Everyone on the committee will share ideas and do all we can to generate enthusiasm and excitement. We're going to move forward, and this is pretty cool. I believe this was touched on a little bit already, but with a collaboration of the fundraising committee and the PCOC store to see what we can do to expand and improve sales. Foster and Blair and Sarah Conrad are working together on this. Thank you so much for that. Specifically focusing on linking teespring.com to our PCOC store. And this is a purchase on demand site. It's so awesome because there's no upfront fees. We're going to try to expand the different swag that's available for you to purchase. And so that's one big thing that we feel like is going to generate passive income on a regular basis. We would actually like each district to think at least one idea for a t-shirt design. And that your design.
I just called Sherry. So can you pick up dinner while you're out? Fuck lunch.
Someone needs to unmute, I think.
Who's picking up dinner?
So each district, if you could submit at least one idea for a t-shirt design, and then it may be featured on a future t-shirt design that will be offered at the PCOC store. The next thing we talked about was a quarterly fundraiser. And the first one I think is going to be really fun. You've heard some about this already, but it's basically a golf tournament. It's a virtual golf tournament, but that can be a little confusing. You're going to actually play golf. You're not going to be doing golf on the computer or anything like that. You're going to play actual golf, but because we can't all be together in one location, you'll be playing whatever is most convenient for you. So grab 3 golf buddies and go out there, have a foursome. We're going to be sending out details to try to make sure that everyone plays on a similar course and that type of thing. But you can play anytime during the month of October or November. So it makes it nice, gives you lots of options. That should give you multiple weekends that you can consider. We're going to ask for a $50 donation to PCOC in order to compete in the tournament. You will have to honestly keep track of your score because you won't have a bunch of people around you. So we want to make sure everyone keeps track of their score honestly. And then we're going to announce the winners at the December Board of Directors meeting. Just a kind of thought about this too, is this could be a great opportunity to expose non-members to PCOC. So maybe 2 or 3 PCOC members invite somebody that's a non-member, and we could actually talk to them a little bit about PCOC and that type of thing. I wanted to thank Adam Holt and Vince Scoville for kind of heading up this fundraiser. They're going to be sending out the details, and we should have those by the end of this month. So that's going to be our first one. Next quarter, we're going to do a swag bag raffle. We'll get into details on that when the time comes closer. And then the next one will be a calendar fundraiser. This could either be photos that are generated by PCOC members, or possibly even having our executive team pose in funny, unique, and maybe embarrassing situations like from movie scenes or things like that. But stay tuned for that. It should be a lot of fun. We would like to challenge each district, company, and or individual to pledge a donation to PCOC in a few minutes. There's your second warning that it's coming up. So get ready. So whether you're your district, yourself, or your company, we know that there's lots of other causes out there, and we get that, and please support them as well. But we also do know that we need to support our state association now more than ever. The association is going to be so important as we try to navigate these times that are coming. Fundraiser committee is excited to partner with the PR committee and see how the intersection of ideas can benefit both. Thanks to Ralph Reese and Blair Brooks and Foster Bruska for spearheading that. We're really looking forward to that. Bumper sticker update. As of last week, we had sold 78. We'd love to encourage each district and or company to buy 10 to 20 of these. I did want to thank Mary Hernandez for donating these. Because of that donation, sales are basically pure profit. They're $10 each, and it doesn't take much. If each district buys 10 to 20 of them, that could be a huge boost to funds. So please think about that and then try to go for that. Also, I'm going to follow up with an email to everyone with an opportunity to buy bumper stickers. We want to make it as easy as possible. So get on the website or watch for the email, and we'll make that as easy as we can. I mentioned this before, but we do want to have someone from each district to participate on the fundraising committee. Please be thinking about that. In the absence of that, district chairs, we're going to ask for you to basically disseminate information. I'll be emailing it to everyone on the fundraising committee as well as all the district chairs. If you don't have anyone in your district on the fundraising committee, then as the district chair, if you can just make sure that information gets out, that would be great. And then coming to a close here, I do have a little bit of homework for each of you. We would like to send or have you send in one great idea for a future fundraiser. We want to do one big fundraiser each quarter, and we feel like if we can get, I think there's 18 or 19 districts. If we can get 18 or 19 ideas coming in, that'll give us a nice pool of ideas to pull from and use for the future. So please, someone from your district, if you can send in at least one. If you have more, then that's great, and we will compile those and use them moving forward. That pretty much covers it. I'm so excited to be working together with everybody on this committee and with all of you. We're basically one big family here. As we go through these difficult times, working together is more important than ever. And so with that, as a final, it is time for the pledges to commence. One thing to consider is a lot of districts have very few expenses right now. So if you're saving some money, a lot of times you have fees to go to these meetings. Maybe there's a little extra money that you can help out with. So districts, I'm going to challenge you, or companies or individuals. Is there anyone that could make a pledge right now towards the PCOC State Association? If so, you can say it audibly or put it in the chat, whatever's easier for you.
Okay, Sprague will donate another $500 to PCOC. I guess it's the 2020 thing that Greg Augustine started, so we can call it a Greg or we can call it a 2020 or whatever you want to use for a handle on it.
You can
Larry,
also,
thank you.
you guys know, you can also go to the PCOConline.com and also make donations there if you want to do it virtually. It's just the same, it's pretty much the same link that was before. You just click up at the top under the Club 2020 donations.
Got it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Who else would like to make a donation?
Travis, Sean here with Big Valley. We'll do 500 for Big Valley District.
Sean, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Who else? You don't want to get left behind. We don't want to leave anyone out here.
Travis, Big Time Pest Control will donate $500.
Mike, thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but please feel free, if you haven't yet and you'd like to, or if you need to check on something, then just put it in the chat there. Thank you so much for those that have donated, and we look forward to moving forward towards success. Thank you very much.
Travis, thank you very much. You are the right person for the job, and thanks for getting this new committee put together so quickly, and all of your efforts and the whole committee's efforts. Thank you. Professional Women in Pest Management, we did not have a meeting, so with that, I'd like to turn it over to the third Vice President, Dave Watkins.
Good afternoon, everybody. At this time, I'd like to call either Mike McKenzie or Suze Fries for the Leadership Academy. Mike or Mary?
There's no report for Leadership Academy. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Mike. Next, Legislative Committee, Jim Steed.
Good afternoon, back again. Just wanted to take a few minutes to touch on 1788. I wanted to highlight something that I'm not sure is well understood. The bill as it has been written now is a moratorium on use of second gens for most commercial applications. There's a number of exemptions in it for ag, and some food services divisions, food production, wineries, medical, and whatnot. And the moratorium is in effect on the use of them throughout the reevaluation of second gens by DPR. So we have been fighting a ban on second gens for 6 years now. And what really happened in this particular circumstance is the bill essentially was dead in the Senate Appropriations Committee. And somebody from Ojai, California reached out to the governor's wife and the governor's office and made it a priority. It became a priority for Gavin Newsom. He wanted it out. And so the content that it had in it when it was sitting in the Senate Appropriations Committee was totally gutted and abandoned. And all new language was placed in the bill in that committee without consultation with PCOC or anyone. And then all of a sudden it was announced that it would be heard by the committee and move forward. So based on all of the backroom politics of how these decisions are made, the bill got out of committee, it got onto the Senate floor, and on the very last day that it could be voted on the Senate floor, we actually had enough support against the bill up to about an hour before it was voted on. And in the last hour, they were able to get 4 more Democrats to go from 19 to 23 to vote to get the bill off the Senate floor and over to the Assembly. Once it got to the Assembly, it sailed through there quickly. They didn't really take a look at it, even though it was completely different content. What I'm trying to tell you is that this was a political vote. It was a political exercise. And that's really important to understand about 1788 and what it means to us politically on the legislative front. To a certain degree, this is better than a ban, by far better than a ban. It's just a moratorium. It definitely feels like it sets the table for DPR to create some sort of a denial of use, but there's still a lot that's going to go on with second gens over the next few years. And so the legislative portion of it's done, and I'll let the Pest Control Committee talk about how we're going to address life under 1788. But one of the things that we learned is that some of the local political entities, especially LA County, were a significant part in pushing this over the last few obstacles. And so in the legislative committee, we made a point to discuss looking at our committee having folks that can outreach on a local level, actually assigning people to different areas. And I believe over the next few months, as we start to set our strategy for moving forward, one of the biggest differences you're going to see is local engagement. We're trying to create an infrastructure of 3, 4, 5 people that will be able to reach out in different regions, and then messaging those folks with the same message, so that when you have a city, a municipality, a county that's being approached with arguments from the activists, we actually have a voice there to counter those arguments and help folks understand what's at stake. So right now, moving forward on the legislative end, the idea is going to be forming a way to engage locally more effectively. If I can just kind of wrap this into my PAPCO report too. It's been a period of time now where PAPCO has sort of been a little bit on suspense, primarily because of COVID and how business has totally changed in the Capitol based on COVID. Now that we've had 1788 settle out and there have been votes, working with Dom DeMari and his staff, we have identified 9 members of the Assembly and 8 members of the Senate that were really there for us when, times were the toughest. And so PAPCO is going to have to meet again one more time to kind of fully flesh out our donation strategy. But it's our intention to make around $20,000 or so in donations prior to the November elections, mostly based on recommendation from Dom DeMari and his staff. And so after this election, we'll probably have 4 to 5 months before we need to have another strategic meeting on donations. And I think that will be good because you know, the lay of the political land has really changed. And quite frankly, some of the folks that we used to give money to, we are absolutely not going to give money to anymore. And there have been a few folks that we didn't give much to who really stood up for us. And by that, I mean actually stood up in the Senate and the Assembly and tried their best. So we'll be adjusting our PAPCO donations to reflect those who were supportive of us and some emerging folks who have become more important for supporting us. And with that, I'll try to take any questions that you might have for PAPCO or the Ledge Committee.
I guess I have a question, Jim. You know, it worries me, you know, seeing what's happened with this rodenticide bill, because for me, it just seems like it's a pretty tremendous loss for us, you know, in our efforts in trying to, you know, get our messaging across, and with all the concerns about fumigants right behind that, I'm worried about where that ends up developing too. Are we doing anything? And I understand what you said too about it being a political versus a science-based decision. You know, are we doing stuff right now still to try to voice our concerns and you know, and our reaction to this? It seems like we're being very positive and trying to work with the department about you know, about implementation and all that. And it seems like we should be continuing on with our messaging that this is just a bad idea, and the carve-outs don't make any sense. You know, I don't see many mountain lions, you know, at the Chinese restaurant in downtown LA, but in all the ag settings, I sure think that's probably where they're at. And it just seems like this is really bad legislation. And even though it's just the moratorium, it seems like we should be, you know, screaming bloody murder right now.
Yeah, actually, that probably consumed almost an hour of our discussion with Dom when we had our after action meeting on this. And that is kind of bringing a reality to the warnings that we gave about the poor quality of this content. When you dissect this into a content versus a political kind of an issue, the brutal truth is we lost this because the governor's office wanted it, and that's it. We probably had it beat on content in the Assembly and the Senate pretty well. I think we've been working there for a long time. We've worked with a lot of people. We have very good relationships with the leadership, and I think we had it done. It was cooked. And the one big difference was, quite frankly, the governor's office saying this is my priority. And when that happens, you get this sort of political horse trading. People say, well, I'll do this or I'll do that, and content becomes irrelevant. So I do think that we've learned that we're going to have to be very different in our messaging, more aggressive in everything that we're doing, from our political action and our political donations on different levels in the Newsom administration. Let me make this clear to all of our members right here. This happened because of the governor, period. You know, and that's really difficult, and it's really frustrating because it's an issue we've worked on a long time and had a good understanding with the previous administration. So the best we can do is to continue to work with a top-notch lobbyist who's about as plugged in as he can be, and try to improve the quantity of what we're doing through our PAC by donating more money in more places and trying to be more vocal about it. And then also trying to communicate the consequences of this to folks that voted for it. You know, when LA County reached out and they called the Appropriations Committee chair in support of this, that really held a lot of sway. And we haven't had any interaction with LA County. So that's definitely a lesson for us, that prior to this experience, we had never needed to engage counties. But the activists have done that pretty successfully because their arguments don't carry any sway with DPR, where there's more science-based kind of evaluation. So when I say that, you know, the legislative committee is looking at really engaging with the local, I think that's where that message that you're looking at, Lee, needs to be refined and carried. Whether it's a negative message, look, you know, does the rat apocalypse actually happen? It may not, I don't know. We're still going to do rodent control, but we're not going to be using that product anymore. So, and you know, the governor is going to be the governor for quite some time. So we have to be careful not to lose future arguments by having, you know, sour grapes too hard about one that's pretty well settled. So there's a lot of kind of content in that answer, but I can tell you that I feel pretty confident in the advice we're getting from Dominic Damari, Max on his staff, and you may see us loudly publicizing some of the negative effects of rodent activity, and then Dom may say, you know, that's maybe not the best for us right here. We're going to do more by looking forward and working with people and keeping friendships. But the negativity has had a lot of discussion, and I think if Dom deems that it's useful, we'll play that card.
Hey, Jim, first off, I want to thank you for the effort you guys put in that. I think it was way above and beyond. On the when the committee was meeting and they did the Zoom meeting, I was floored by the amount of people that came out in favor of that position. There were a bunch of bills before it and a bunch after, and you know, the ones before it had to do with police reform, a lot of really tenuous subjects that I thought would get a lot more attention. This bill got more attention than any bill there because of the activists that were involved, and it was ridiculous. That's one statement I wanted to make. The other one was I understand the pharmaceuticals found their way out of it. Is that correct? And do you know how they were able to pull that off?
Yeah, so that's what Lee kind of attributed to, and Chris has said before. This thing is Swiss cheese. There's holes all over it. And so specifically the pharmaceutical or medical research industry were in strong opposition, and they even testified at a previous Senate hearing in opposition. And the author at that meeting promised to work with them, which basically means, okay, we'll carve them out too. So there's probably, you know, carve outs for 5, 6, 7 different entities, the largest being agriculture. When they carved out ag, you know, they carved out the ag opposition. And so each one of these carve outs is designed to remove the political opposition. And that happened after the previous interaction in the Senate Environmental Committee. So they once our colleagues once they're out of the bill, they removed their opposition, even though it's still a bad idea for the rest of us. And ironically enough, if you take a look at a map in California of the agricultural areas, these are the areas that are directly next to wildlife areas, and they're totally exempt. So the net effect is you have a bill that is a policy victory for some folks that I think are very short-sighted and have no real idea what they've done. And there's not going to be much of an effect on wildlife, pretty much just us, you know, structurally here in the cities and the urban areas.
Thanks, Jim.
Any other questions for Jim? All right, thank you very much, Jim. I'd like to call Secretary Chance Howell.
All right, thank you, Dave. For the General Pest Committee report, I'd like to call on Sean Bradley.
Thanks, Chance. The General Pest Committee, well, I'm Sean Bradley, Chair of the General Pest Committee. My first time doing this, so bear with me. We met yesterday afternoon. I think we had almost 40 people in attendance, and we had a lot to talk about. I don't want to be redundant here because a lot of it we've already covered with Chris and Jim with his updates. So that covered a lot of the content that we talked about in regards to the bill. What we talked about and what we need to do as a committee, I think, is looking forward and how we're going to be the conduit with membership and our industry, basically. Darren spoke a bit, and he kind of emphasized the same thing Jim did, that it's not a stop sell on the product. It's still going to be available on the market. It's going to be about what's exempt, what's not. For most of us operators, I think we're going to be pretty much not going to be using the product, obviously not in the residential setting, and limited in the commercial setting. So, and that's, I think Jim referred to the bill also in that meeting as a hot mess. I don't know if that's an exact quote, but it's, if you've read through it before, it's ambiguous throughout, regards to public health. And on the ag side, it's a little more clear, but still, even then, it's what defines a winery, you know, or a vineyard. So I think that's going to be part of what General Pest is going to need to do to provide that clarity as we get more answers in regards to the bill. And so along with that, it's going to be how we're going to do that. And I think with our new COVID world, it's opened up more opportunity for Zoom meetings. Obviously, that's what we're doing right now. And even at the district level with district meetings. Chris Reardon, that's what he talked about as well. What are we going to be doing going forward? We have lots of questions directed towards us right now, just not a lot of answers. We just don't know yet. The content's kind of half-baked at its best. So as we get more clarity, we need to push out that content. We thought of a few different ways. I personally thought the PCOC minute during COVID was great. And I don't think we need to do that every week, but I think on a semi-monthly or monthly basis to get that to our membership. Ralph with the PR committee, he reached out, and I thought it'd be great to maybe partner with PR committee to get some content. You saw what they're capable of, great video that they produced. So if there's some content we could do. And I've heard Pest Ed mentioned a few times, and I kind of crossed my mind thinking maybe even Pest Ed would be a great opportunity. It's the beginning of the year. When this rolls out, that's a good time for our affiliates to be involved too, to push out maybe alternative products, alternative practices. So going into the next year might be a good opportunity for us to also market Pest Ed as a learning experience for our whole industry. So that just kind of came to mind. We didn't really discuss that. So let me know if you can give some feedback on that as well. We also had Travis Mickle talk a little bit about what we did at Big Valley. We did a Zoom meeting, and actually Jim Steed helped out with that. We got Placer County and Sac County involved. And I think a lot of you folks here were actually on that call, and we had 150 participants and probably well over 200 sets of eyeballs on that meeting. So, and that was a truck inspection with Placer County inspector, and it went awesome. The Pest Posse produced the video, shout out to them as well. It was great. Travis did a great job hosting it, and we had a ton of interest. So I think something like, if we could do something like that, similar to that in regards to content on the bill, I think we'll get a ton of engagement, and not only from current members, it's people in our industry that aren't currently members. So we get that exposure there as well. And we also talked about doing a FAQ sheet that we can kind of push out as we get questions and kind of harness that. And if we see a lot of the same questions, we can answer those and push them out in a FAQ sheet. So I'm gonna put my email in the chat. And if there's any questions you guys have now, please email me. If they come up later, please do the same in regards to the bill. And finally, I guess one thing we also talked about too is looking forward. These Free Malibu folks have been quite emboldened by their victory here. So they really have already talked about preemption, or the reversal of preemption. So allowing, local cities, counties to really have their own control over what pesticides are used. And that's obviously not going to be good for our industry or for ag. So that's one thing that was discussed a little bit. I'm looking forward to what our next challenges might be in the coming year. And then finally, I guess in the committee I did as well, but I think other people have said the same thing, the same sentiments. Jim, Chris, everybody on the executive committee, Dominic, Darren, all the work they've done, they've worked their butts off on this. And, this would have been our reality a few years ago, I think, if they hadn't done all the work they have. So, but anyhow, I think that kind of wraps it up. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm going to send that out right now. Are there any questions, or anybody want to add anything? Saw the question about the ag inspection, and I think there's already talks about doing that. That's a great question about having that maybe available on the PCOC website, but I can't speak on that directly. I just know there was talks about that, about having that ag truck inspection. Okay, I think that does it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sean. Nice job with that. I'd like to call on Eric Paulson with the Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Chance. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Before I get into the details of our committee meetings this week, I'd be negligent if I didn't follow up on some of the auto safety stuff that Lee, Paul, and Laura talked about. This is a significant issue, not just for us as an industry and as an association, but as a line of insurance. The industry has been losing, when I say industry, the insurance industry as a whole in the United States has been losing money on auto coverage since about 2011, 2012. And it's a real serious issue that carriers have been very concerned about and trying to find solutions for. What's been interesting is, as an industry, they've not raised prices significantly, certainly nowhere near what it needs to be to cover their losses. Kind of the thinking is they haven't raised prices dramatically, because they goal to maintain market share, or they're trying to bundle it with other coverages and so forth. And we were fortunate that for about half or more of that time period where most of the other carriers were losing money, we were at least breaking even on auto. But as was explained, it's been kind of ugly the last few years, and we're definitely in the loss area. So just quickly, just to kind of recap what Laura and Paul and me talked about, hiring practices and having key policies in place as far as who you're going to hire and then what your expectations of those employees are is crucial. It starts with how we hire our folks. Supervision, and part of that's tied into what those policies are. Monitoring your drivers and providing both positive and negative feedback. Azuga is an awesome tool for this. It actually does all the work for you and tells you what things your drivers are doing poorly, what they're doing well, and really helps you to be able to provide that positive and negative feedback. Use tools like DMV pull notices was recommended. It's an awesome supervisory tool. And video event recorders. Yesterday in the PCOC group meeting, a number of people gave examples, and I have examples at Clark Pest Control, where a single video in one incident and having that video more than paid for the entire cost of Azuga for several years. And that's just for a single incident, not to mention all of the other benefits that we and others get out of that. Third would be training your employees. A lot of folks just kind of focus on that. Well, I train my employee, but really almost more important, or more importantly than that, is having the right hiring practices and then supervising the employees so that we can change the behavior, so we can have them stop following too closely and getting rid of those distractions. So specifically to the committee, I just sent, I believe I did. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So just sent you kind of a summary of of my report. Safety committee met on Tuesday. I think we had 4 or 5 people in attendance. We reviewed the PCOC committee website. We were having in the last couple of years difficulty in being able to get be able to effectively share everything and be able to have a tool to have back and forth feedback and so forth. So we created this committee, or this website earlier in the year for the committee to use. And so we kind of reviewed what was on there, talked about 2 of the programs that are out there for relatively new OSHA mandates. Last year, state of California implemented a wildfire smoke safety standard, which requires that companies do host things, monitor the air and do training and a number of other different things. And the other was the Valley Fever Standard. And so we talked a little bit about that. Both those programs are on the committee's website. And our President Tom Graston has asked the committee to review a couple of old PCOC programs, mostly developed in the 1990s. I think one of them was a product that the Safety Committee put out in 1994 or 95, something like that. So we went through, briefly went through those documents and kind of have a plan for going through them in a little more detail, decide which ones just need to be cleaned up, which ones you want to start from scratch. And for a couple of the elements, fortunately, as a committee, we've actually produced some from scratch, much better documents the last year or two. So that takes care of part of that project. So that's what we've got. If you have an interest in participating, we would love to have broader participation. Small folks, small companies, large companies. The greater participation, the better overall result we get, so we can get more eyes looking at it. And I put my email in the little message I sent out. So, any questions for me? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Well, we're at the point now where, do we have any unfinished business? If we have no unfinished business, then Karen, can we get a review of motions?
Sure, we did, and it was to approve the minutes from the last Board of Directors. First was Fred Rozo, second was Mary Hernandez, and the motion carried.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
I just want to remind everybody, we will have the lunch bag Zoom meetings coming up for you to roundtable with us if you have any concerns about the building or about the upcoming changes in the dues. And I look forward to talking to anybody. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Fred Rozo, motion to end the meeting.
A second?
Mary Hernandez.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, everybody, for your patience. This was a very important meeting. We were able to show our appreciation to our affiliates, and that's what keeps us strong. Thank you. Take care. Meeting's
Thanks,
adjourned.
Tom.